Hello, everybody, and welcome back to episode 10 of Everything Motor Racing Podcast. It's kind of hard to believe now that we're at 10 episodes already. Feels like I literally just started making this yesterday. It's a bit strange, really. Today I am joined once again by Jacob Ward.
Happening, guys.
And I'm also joined not by Keelan this time, but by he's all right. He's fine. He's just been swapped out for this one. I'm joined by Gary Lee from Pro 53.
Hi everyone, how you doing?
So obviously we are back in to the podcast from a pretty mental race weekend in Le Mans, where we saw, I think it was around 120 crashes in total. I think.
The most of any weekend ever, I believe.
Really, ever?
Yeah, like any one particular weekend ever, I believe.
Sheesh.
By 120 crashes.
Yeah.
Mental. I know some riders crashed 5 times, 6 times.
Yeah, preview, so even championship leaders crashing and stuff. It wasn't favourable conditions at all.
Yeah, the weather didn't care who you were, how many titles you had. It was just screw you.
The rain's a brutal mistress, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we said absolutely crazy races, and I think a little bit harsh. The old commentators were very harsh today. I think across all 3 races, being quite disrespectful to the riders who had incidents, because there were so many. It wasn't like they were, people were just being silly on brake or throttle. It was just, one of those, tracks that doesn't get used very often. Very cold and just a really tricky. So yeah, I thought the commentators were a bit harsh on everyone really, because they were going to town on a few riders, even the Moto3 boys and stuff. So
yeah, they were notoriously with BT Sport. We know they do excellent coverage, but they are very, very British biased.
Just a bit.
It feels in the name, you know what I mean? So it's fair enough. But they were notoriously British biased. Like John McPhee was God's gift today, when in reality he wasn't.
Oh God!
His first points today, wasn't it? I think even first points. So.
Yeah, his first points of the year today, which is crazy to be honest.
Yeah, it's not exactly keep you form, is it?
No.
I think they even tried putting the Sam Lowe's crash on. Oh, he was a bit squeezed in the braking. I was like, it was just a mistake.
It's he's literally gone into it and stacked the front,
Yeah.
Call
it as it is.
Yeah. If it was, say, I don't know, Acosta, what's his face? John McPhee and his arch nemesis. Can't remember his name now. Alcoba. If it was Alcoba taking out John McPhee, it'd be Alcoba is reckless. Alcoba is.
Lifetime ban.
Yeah, pitchforks out for Alcoba, but Sam Lowe's makes a mistake. It's fine. Just
I like Lowe's. I think, to be fair to him, he had every right to go for it, but he cocked it up. Simple as.
I think. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think, especially when you're performing at that level, there's absolutely nothing wrong with making a mistake. It's just as long as you don't keep making them. But it was just funny how you mentioned about the slight bias, as fantastic as the coverage is and stuff. Yeah. But it was just funny. It was like, oh, maybe he's saying was a bit squeezed, but whereas actually, it was just
it's like this World Championship bike racing. You're gonna get squeezed.
Yeah, after you.
Yeah, it's not a perception, is it? Let's be real.
No, it's not like they're just going to be like, yeah, you go through, it's fine. They're literally battling for their careers. It's everything they've ever worked for in their lives,
Yeah, and the level is so close now. Dorna have done such a good job of bringing all the classes together so well.
Yeah.
That you give up a meter in braking, you're going to lose 3 positions.
Yeah, 100%.
You have to brake later than you are comfortable with every lap, basically. It's just how it is. And that means mistakes will come.
Yeah. Because it is genuinely the closest they've ever been. I mean, obviously today, if you're a British fan, you may know that, what is it? The coverage was basically on BT, but it's also on ITV, which BT is a paid service where you have to pay to watch, the racing, but they do football, fighting and stuff like that. Whereas ITV, if you have a TV that's connected by a cable, you can watch stuff for free. Obviously, you have to pay your TV license, but you can watch things for free. And so MotoGP, the live feed from Dorna was put on the ITV. And so a lot of people I know who don't normally watch MotoGP watched it for the first weekend. And, they watched all 3 races. And one of them's quite a big F1 fan. And they were saying to me, they were like, it's only, in MotoGP terms, 1.5 seconds ahead is massive. But to them, they're like, he's only a second ahead, it's fine. But when Ralph Fernandez puts 1.5 seconds between the riders ahead of him, it's an issue because it's 1.5 seconds.
That's it. As in F1, I think the better racing comes from the lower classes, like on the whole.
Yeah.
Like GP3 and GP2
are definitely
better than F1 to watch. Like F1 is obviously the pinnacle, the absolute pinnacle of engineering, and it needs to be respected. But if you want to watch good racing, you watch GP3 and GP2.
I think as well, you get a lot of the battles in Formula One. I mean, we're being quite spoilt this year that we seem to be having a good clash at the front between Sir Hamilton and Verstappen, but a lot of the battles seem to happen midfield, but they don't get a lot of airtime in F1. So you're correct to say F2 and F3, because they're all using the same cars. It's actually the racing is pretty close and pretty spectacular. But I think that's what MotoGP does really, really well. Is regardless if you've got these different manufacturers from all across the world, the racing is just fantastic.
And especially when you factor in today's conditions, obviously wet, changing, dry, the rider makes a difference. And we're so close in bikes. Riders shown who might not have maybe had the opportunity previously.
Yeah, huge, and I think you saw that as well. The riders that really stood out this weekend across all three categories. You just saw you just got to have admiration for them. Just absolute class.
Oh yeah.
You can't comprehend how difficult it must be.
Yeah, like if we're being totally honest, it's not a bad, every single rider is at such a high level that there's just nothing to choose.
Yeah, and it must be a nightmare for teams. If you're, say, a Moto2 team, say you are Akiayo right now, and you've got your Moto2 and you've got your Moto3 team, and you've got Ralph Fernandez, Remy Gardner. You almost certainly know after 5 rounds that these 2 riders are most likely going to be promoted. And so now you have to somehow pick 2 riders from Moto3 to promote. Obviously, Masia and Acosta would be the obvious choices.
They've got the good choices there already. It's not closer from the Moto3, which is the issue.
And
obviously, the World Rookie Champion from this year, that's one.
Yeah, but it's like, how the hell do you choose from this massive talent pool 2 riders? Because there are too many good riders at the moment.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah, and a lot of the good riders are already signed up to junior teams. Aspar are in the CEV.
Yeah.
Australia Mon now are in the CEV. They may not be in the World Championship now, but they will definitely get you a spot.
Yeah.
So there's just nothing to choose anymore. It's not like 10, 15 years ago where you could come in on sheer talent alone. You have to have everything now.
Yeah, you do.
I think as well what it does is it points to the fact where you've got maybe some riders that are past their best in MotoGP. You can't afford to have that anymore. So
you
can't afford to have that anymore.
You're on about there.
There's always been throughout motorsport, you have people that have probably been there based on past wins or past performances. But I think now, especially in the MotoGP paddock, the talent is so stacked.
I've got some breaking news. Lorenzo Delaporte has been disqualified today from the Moto2 race because he was 1 kilo underneath the rider weight you have to be. The rider machine and bike weight, which actually then moves everybody up. And Javi Siren,
so he was P11, wasn't he?
So he finished the race actually in P16, Siren. But then obviously, Lorenzo Delaporte was 11th.
Yeah, Delaporte, sorry. Yeah, that's what I meant. Delaporte was 11th.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and so Delaporte has actually been kind of obviously disqualified, and then Siren's now gained the last point, which is great because Siren actually had a nightmare during the race. He struggled massively because he was up in P8, P9, doing quite well, and then his bike overheated to up to 130 degrees Celsius, which then he cooked his race. But yeah, it was quite an interesting day of racing, really, because all 3 classes were obviously competitive, but there was a lot of crashes, which does raise some questions, mainly about safety, of course, with riders. We've seen 120 crashes in one race weekend, which is insane. I do honestly feel terribly sorry for these, leather and helmet suppliers because they're going to be shilling out the big bucks after this race weekend.
Yes,
Team
100%.
budgets being a bit tight and things like that as well, especially coming
Yeah.
out of the global pandemic. Sending it down the road is not the thing to be doing if you're a smaller team.
No, exactly. I mean, Honda are going to have to cut into Marquez's rages for the 6 or 7 smashed up Repsol Hondas we've seen this weekend.
Oh no, poor Honda. They're so close to the breadline. What are they going to do?
Honda on their last legs now.
Yeah, we'll probably hear an announcement they're pulling MotoGP just because of their crash budget.
Yeah. Can't afford Marquez's wages.
That's not an official statement, by the way. Just make that clear.
Could be.
Don't
want to get us done for fake news now.
Don't quote me on that. But no, the safety thing's a really, really good point, and I think it was spoken about the last race meeting at Jerez because of the type of circuit that it is.
Yeah.
But I think, well, I without being too dramatic and stuff like that, I really think that we're dodging a bullet at the moment. With MotoGP. And I think the organisers and the manufacturers, especially like sort of protective gear, have done a fantastic job. But
Yes.
I think the thing about motorsport, that must be said. But the thing about motorsport is that if you're not continually learning, whether that be from a performance perspective, PR, marketing, or safety, you're moving backwards because everything else is going so quick.
Yeah.
And I really do think that we're touch wood and God willing we don't get to that point, but I think we're really dodging a bullet at the moment with the amount of incident. I mean, this weekend the amount of incidents was probably masked because there was a lot of minor incidences and low speed incidences. But if we continue that process, then you get to a point where you overlook it slightly, and you don't start to actually look and think, okay, realistically, what's the next. Apart from the airbags that we have now, there hasn't been a huge step in safety for quite a while, I think, from a circuit's perspective or kit. So I think we are due a big overview because the speeds are just crazy. Great for racing. Well, I think a lot of other motorsport categories have done a lot to rectify that and try to cap it in a way where they necessarily reduce the speed slightly, because I think that as we've seen with Moto 3 and Moto 2, it doesn't have to be the fastest form to be entertaining and good racing. So that's probably one side. I think that we and that would also bring the vehicles back towards the riders a bit more, and we would probably see even better racing and better riding, because yes, they'll be on the limit, but not too far.
There's still there's gap to improvement. If you I'm not saying limit all the bikes down massively, but there has to be some give way, because we saw at, say, turn 7, there was a lot of crashes this year at Jerez. We're going back to Jerez. Obviously, there was quite a lot of crashes at a corner that's not really a predominant corner for crashing. We saw Marquez and Pol Espargaro go down because for some reason, whenever Marquez crashes or whatever Marquez does, Pol Espargaro has to somehow do and crash and replicate for some weird reason. But we've seen, we saw, I think Darren Binder went down there, Gabriel Rodrigo went down there, Jake Dixon went down there. So it's across all 3 crashes, can't get my words out. Across all 3 classes, so it's not like it's an independent, isolated thing in one class. So there definitely needs to be.
I think Go on, carry on. Sorry.
So there definitely needs to be things raised about this and why there's crashes like this and what's going on to cause these issues, because it can't be. It's not just a fluke crash. Obviously, I don't want to. Make it sound like it's horrific. But, Luis Salom, for example, he lost his life at Catalonia. But that was an isolated incident. That was a crash caused by a bump on the surface that, obviously, he would have been fine, but obviously he got hit by his bike, which took his life. But it was at a court.
Salom would have survived, wouldn't he? It was just a freak incident.
Exactly.
I thought it was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to actually change the circuit layout for that.
Yeah, but it obviously reduced the speeds going into the corner.
I get why, but I don't think it was needed. I think it was more a precaution. Again, I get why, and it was the correct decision after what happened.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If he had just crashed and walked away, it would have been a non-discussion,
Yeah, and because it's a corner that doesn't, you rarely ever see someone to crash at turn 12, and so we are seeing more crashes at corners where you're not expecting them to be. So it's only a matter of time, where we have something serious,
Yeah, I think it's due to what we said earlier, where the pace is so high because the talent pool is so high at the moment that
Yeah, they're pushing each other so hard.
that you're going to see crashes in places where you might not have seen them before because they are pushing so hard through everything. Like if you're going through, say, turn 2 and 3, well, 3 and 4, even though it's turn 2 in Le Mans, everybody knows that you come onto that from like a curved straight. You can't push into it.
Yeah.
But yet, if the guy next to you is pushing into it, you have to push into it.
Exactly.
And before you know it, you're on the floor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think as well one of the points that was discussed, I think Alicia brought it up at her ref, was the fact that where most of these circuits tend to just alter their layout slightly in terms of runoffs and safety to accommodate bikes, whereas predominantly they are Grand Prix circuits for F1 and GTs and things like that, and I get from a cost perspective because having dealt with international circuits for many years, the cost to put on an event and have it is astronomical.
Millions.
But at what point do you put you put a cost on someone's potential life? Like there shouldn't be a case where we're not changing gravel, we're not changing runoff areas because of cost. But actually, it's not.
Is a good example there because the gravel at Jerez, it was absolutely abysmal. Like, I'm not being funny. The amount that they could bring in for an event, like obviously no fans at this point, fair enough. Maybe not right now, but as soon as the spectators come back in, there is no reason Jerez can change their gravel because the amount they'll bring in over a weekend, especially Jerez, because we know they get regularly 6 figures.
Yeah.
Like, they could easily change their gravel traps to a different type of gravel. Easily.
Yeah, 100%. But I think that's what you mentioned about Catalonia is that that last term was changed for a bump in the road after the tragic passing of Louis Jones. But the problem with it is that the runoff areas for all rest of the circuit were not changed. There's no point just closing that one corner because theoretically, each circuit has its own characteristics of how they lay out their runoff, what gravel they use, what curbing they use. We see that, and that's what makes them so great. Gives them their identity and so on and so forth. But from a safety perspective, they changed the configuration of the final corner to the detriment of probably of racing, if we're all honest. But for a good reason. But they didn't change anything else. They didn't change the runoff areas. I mean, I know they make sort of slight changes and stuff.
Like it's tarmac still. Like at least put a gravel trap in if you're showing your serious. You know what I mean?
It's just tarmac.
But again, that's where they do it for like F1 because for F1, the reason they don't like gravel is because it has a tendency to dig in and flip the car, which can be obviously can be quite catastrophic with the speeds they're going. But it's a kind of that way up between. Okay, if you're hosting an event, you can't go well. Unfortunately, sorry, we can't have that because we're thinking of an event in 3 weeks' time. People are paying these teams and the championship are paying an extravagant amount of money to be there.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't be overlooked.
All these circuits are basically Tilke circuits now. Urban Tilke, the designer, they all follow very much F1, and MotoGP is basically an afterthought.
Yeah, it's kind of like
you can't name me one circuit that's currently in use that is specifically bikes. Because you could say, the Mandalika circuit in Indonesia, but nobody's on that yet.
No, it's not even built yet.
Killy Ring is another, and then we're using it.
Maybe Laguna's one that probably is more famous for GP than it is F1, I would imagine.
Yeah.
But
the runoffs on that are really good.
But that's crazy, isn't it? That's a crazy circuit. That's an anomaly,
Yeah.
Bermuda Triangle of circuits.
Like if you go down the list of circuits, like at the moment, if you just look at it right now, you've got Qatar, which Qatar is excellent because you had so much space to work with that you could make the runoffs massively big.
Yeah, you can, yeah.
But that's, as we know, Qatar is in the middle of absolutely smack bang nowhere. But Portimao, again, maybe a bike track designed by Craig Jones, but F1 is predominantly the focus there.
Yeah, and so there's no runoffs. There's just tarmac, and so riders' suits were getting like holed up and worn through because they were sliding on tarmac.
Yeah,
And
because
Takta had he was sliding for about 300 meters. It
Yeah,
seemed
the end
when
of
he came
T1.
off on the straight, wasn't he? Yeah.
Yeah.
and of course, when we're discussing safety, look at last year at the Styrian Grand Prix
Oh yeah.
in
Mm,
the Red Bull Ring,
Shocking.
all because of
yeah.
runoff.
Yeah, I mean, Stoner made a massive point. Before we even went there, Casey Stoner obviously had a look at it and said turn two. Obviously, the crashes that we saw were not involved or caused by turn two. Vinales, obviously, he was all right because he slid and stopped, but his bike obviously went flying. But when you come to turn two, there was next to no runoff. If Vinales had the same issue, I don't know if he'd have had enough time to react because of how close he's hurtling towards turn two, and the runoff, there's next to none.
Yeah, literally, like everybody's like, "Oh, Stoner's injured again."
Yeah.
He's got a valid point.
Yeah, it's massively valid.
But I think that's where the point where you have to look at what's the easiest solution and the safest, and that's why I do believe that bringing the speed down slightly.
Yeah.
Mental crazy thing for anyone who's involved in motorsport to say, because we always want to be pushing the boundaries of technology. I don't want to be detriment to that at all, because there's obviously a lot of money and investment and time, and a lot more clever people than me get involved in that sort of thing. But I do believe that bringing it back slightly, and like you said, is we talked about the riders, taking probably unnecessary risks because is that fear of failure, and you're always going to get that in motorsport, so it's a fine line. But the point is that they're having to do things and put themselves in positions where actually they probably don't want to be, but they know their livelihood depends on it.
Yeah,
So
I think that's why you need to bring it back, because you look at everything else you would need, and I don't think there's one answer to it. I think there's several, and I don't want to sound like we're pooing on the parade of MotoGP at all. But I think everyone wants to go home safe. We know motorsport is dangerous. We've unfortunately seen that throughout the years, and that's what we bought into when we got involved in the industry as a business and pleasure. But on the same token, you want to see everyone go home safe.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
would much rather see a slower race and everybody goes home to their kids,
Yeah, because
exactly.
it's strange because all these crashes and all, they're always just panned off as, oh, the safety level's really high. Oh, they got airbags in the suits, the helmets are now FIM homologated. They have to pass a certain level of tests. But things can happen. Dennis Onsu's neck was sliced by Darren Binder's obviously brake disc. These freak accidents can happen. It's very hard to protect against them. But
yeah, and the thing is, if you are tempting fate by introducing more crashes, then there's higher scope for something to go wrong.
Yeah, and
I'm surprised there hasn't been a more of a public inquest into saying, yes, it was a freak accident, but is there anything we can learn from?
Yeah,
There's not. It's literally just been brushed under the carpet.
Really easy solution: brake disc covers.
yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
but that's
exactly.
not a carbon brake disc cover. What's that going to do in terms of racing? Oh, suddenly Honda got 3 seconds a lap. Nah, it's not how it works. Like,
no, it's a really hard. And I do feel for the people in the safety commissions and IRTA and things like that who have to, come up with solutions to these problems, because it seems as soon as you fix one problem, another one arises.
yeah, and like we see in 2006 to 2007, even moving the goalposts in terms of bike CC doesn't always matter, because the 800s are actually quicker through the corners.
Yeah, they were mental, those 800s.
Yeah, like you come from a 990, the 990 might have been quicker in a straight line, but overall the 800 was quicker.
Yeah.
That's the thing. The teams are doing what they're meant to do. They're meant to push the boundaries and find within the regulations how they can go faster.
Yeah.
They're doing the great job, and let's not, I'm not, again, say that anyone isn't doing a good job on the safety side of it. But I just do think that we are I think, my original point at the beginning was, is that, we're tempting fate with not, if you're not doing something, you're moving backwards.
Yeah, you always have to be progressing.
Still anymore. You have, it's quite literally a case of, if you stop, you fall.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
I think the simple solution in terms of it, if you want to slow it down, would be 250s in Moto 3, 500s in Moto 2, 750s in MotoGP.
Yeah, it's possible. Yeah, but I don't know, because
you can't get. There's only so much you can get out of a 750. Nowhere near the level to 1,000.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting take I don't think there's obviously a right or wrong answer, to be fair, and obviously everyone will have a different opinion. I don't know, maybe like tighter rev limits, down to say, I don't know what they are now, but limit it by say 1,000 revs each gear, something like that as well. That could work.
I think it's quartering speed. I think it across.
Yes.
If you look at F1 and MotoGP, the technology now of the machinery and the capabilities of the drivers, the riders, so the athletes, is just so astronomical. It's the cornering speeds which are the issue, and pushing the boundaries, which again they're meant to do. And that's why we love it. We're not, for once, I don't think any of us are saying, that we want that to stop. But
Yeah.
it's, I think it's just that, sometimes you have to go, okay, it's getting a little bit unsafe now. We'll probably be in the same situation in 5 or 6 years' time. But if we don't take action now, think where we would be in 5 or 6 years' time.
Yeah.
That's what you have to think about.
When Roland Ratzenberger and Senna died on the same weekend.
Yeah, that was horrific.
That was the kick at the arse that everyone needed. Apart from Bianchi, which was totally unfortunate. We haven't had a fatality since.
Well, obviously we had the
But what I'm hoping is that it doesn't take something of that magnitude for MotoGP to say, okay, something needs to change.
A bright star and one of the greats to let's be honest, we nearly had it last year in Austria, didn't we?
Yeah.
Exactly, Rossi came within a millimeter of losing his life.
Oh, yeah.
Thank goodness he didn't.
Yeah.
Again, I just think that we're dodging bullets, but we're not looking at how we can stop the bullets coming.
Yeah.
Like people are going to think we're being dramatic, but it literally is that finer margin.
Yeah, if you can have a
It
race,
really is.
like a race with 120 crashes, if you could have a race weekend with that many crashes and think, oh, it's fine, it's normal, whatever, then you've got an issue. People say Aleix Espargaro likes to talk. Aleix Espargaro likes the sound of his own voice and he likes to have a pop. But he makes some massively valid points. I heard that the safety commission meeting was actually dragged on for a lot longer than it should have because Aleix brought up all these points. And
from the outside, you think, oh, Aleix is a little girl, but that's not the case. Everything he's saying is for the good of the sport and his fellow riders.
Yeah, I think he would make an excellent safety commission officer once he obviously retires and hangs his levers up. And he said in the commission that he wants to move Le Mans because obviously Le Mans now it's in May, it's in spring. It's wet. It's always wet consistently. You can look back through the years and we're always getting a wet Le Mans race. Even last year, yes, it was wet and it was in like July or something like that, but it was warmer and it wasn't as dangerous. We saw still 100 crashes last year, but it wasn't as bad. Why don't we move it till midsummer, a lot later on?
I don't see why we couldn't go from Sachsenring to or from like Assen to France. We're still in Europe.
Yeah.
And Mugello could easily spend it in Le Mans place because Italy is a far warmer climate on the whole.
Yeah, if we go to a track in these times of the year where they're a bit closer to the equator, south of France, etc. Paul Ricard. Why doesn't MotoGP go to Magny-Cours, for example?
Because Superbikes have it.
Yes,
great track.
Fantastic track.
Again, I think the runoff would be an issue in Magny-Cours.
It would, yeah.
I tell you what, with all this talk as well, kudos to Le Mans and the circuit though, because we've had 120 crashes plus across the all the categories of racing, and
hospital visits.
I think maybe one person I think went to hospital for checkups. 2 people,
2 injuries.
So actually, fair play to them. Obviously credit where credit's due. Yes, obviously there's a lot of incidents, but the circuit must be doing something right in terms of their layout and safety because actually, at no point did you look at it and think, oh, blimey, that's a terrible one. Like,
yeah, that's it.
So actually, I've got to say, it'd be unfair of me to sit here criticizing, not necessarily criticizing, but kind of giving a safety lesson, trying to give a safety lesson, like I said, to people that are a lot more clever than me, but without mentioning that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think the problem with Le Mans is definitely not the layout; it's the location and the time.
Yeah, they've got to pick their time and a place for it, and it's a bit.
It's far more dangerous circus than Le Mans out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Speaking of safety, what did you make of Marc Marquez talking about the whole shot devices saying they're unsafe?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's tricky because I wouldn't say they're unsafe personally. I don't really understand his point, to be honest.
No, I totally agree. I think what he was pointing out was what happened to Morbidelli in Doha, where it didn't come
Yeah,
deactivated.
which I can
I
understand, to
think
be
he's.
fair.
I think he's seen how good they are with the starts, and he's playing the game a little bit there.
He's now stuck with them. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Miller's start today was rapid.
Oh, he was firing off that because he wasn't sure whether he was going to use it or not, and obviously looked around at the people around him to see if they were using it because it adds half a second advantage to your race start. So you're going to use it if you've got it. Honda clearly don't. Theirs isn't very good at the moment. They do have one, but it's obviously not as advanced as. Yeah.
Well, Miller's point was you have to engage the brake for it to come off, and he wasn't sure whether that movement would unstable. Obviously, turns 1 and 2 are pretty much a.
Go on. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, no, I was going to say because he wasn't sure whether it would unstable the bike too much, so he was ready for the first left-hander.
Yeah, because he'd still be.
I think that was useful. I think until we start, until it becomes a problem, that I think there's not really many turn ones or first kind of major braking zones across the calendar where it could be an issue of not. It's the same as saying, well, traction control is it could be dangerous because we've seen it fail before or anything like that, or modes fail and spit a rider off. So it's just I think maybe he's playing the game. He's realizing that his Honda's way behind in a number. I think I looked at the standings and saw that where the top Honda was. It was I think P9 or something like that in championship. So maybe that's a reason.
Yeah,
but
really slightly closer. Yeah, I don't blame him if he does truly feel that it's unsafe. You need to prove it. But you need to prove it.
Everything's unsafe at the end of the day. The wings were deemed as unsafe. When they almost gored Marc Marquez.
When they were just the single wings, just
one plate. Now they're all right because they have adapted to it. If they create a fail-safe system with the, I don't even know what it's called now. The start system. If they create a fail-safe where they can turn it off manually, because obviously you got to engage the brake to turn it off. Why don't you push a button? Why don't you click something with your foot to turn it off? If they can create a fail-safe which completely instantly disengages it, maybe even like a, where you can disengage it for the rest of the race and it can't turn on until somebody in the factory or in the pits manually turns a switch to turn it back on. If they create a fail-safe for it, then there's no reason why it's not, dangerous. As long as they can work around it and find a solution, like a fail-safe, then there's no reason why it's not dangerous,
Good to have the conversation, though.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Good to have the conversation.
No, MotoGP's used it for years at the end of the day, and it's never been an issue. Like, when I raced, I had it on my bike, you know what I mean? And it makes a hell of a difference off the start. The front doesn't want to rise.
Yeah.
You just drive.
Yeah, and it's about innovation. I don't know, I think... obviously said Gary Lee, the Honda is struggling a lot this year, and Marquez might be looking at kind of other reasons. He has obviously publicly said that the Honda is having problems. It's not as good as bike as he remembers, but he could be looking for some excuses.
I don't know.
It's the game, isn't it? It's the game.
But Mark never has been one for excuses, has he?
No, that's true.
But because I was looking at the grid, I don't think Zarco actually engaged it.
You're not?
I don't believe so. I could be wrong, but I was watching all of the Ducatis because I was interested to see if they would actually engage it. You could see straight away Miller was like a drag bike. It was low.
Yeah.
And I couldn't tell because obviously Pramac haven't got a red mudguard. So I couldn't see how low it was, but it looked like Zarco hadn't engaged the start system. He just started manually.
Went for it, like.
Yeah, I couldn't see because the cameras focused a lot on Miller saying that he was using the system, so I couldn't when I looked at it, I couldn't see if anyone else was using it.
Zarco was right behind Miller, so I did have a quick peek, but again, I couldn't tell it. Like it didn't look like it, but I'm open to being wrong.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's interesting. I think at the end of the day, if you don't want to use it, don't use it. If you do want to use it, use it. It should be down to the rider's choice. Did Mark use it?
Did Mark use his today?
I don't know. Probably
because he had a pretty decent start. So
yeah, because I know the Aprilias did.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, of course they did.
So like, Leach had a rocket start because of it. Like,
yeah,
I think you've just hit the nail on the head with it, though. if you want to use it, use it. It's not something that's non-optional.
Yeah, it's not like you're forced to use this thing.
Exactly.
If you feel you can make up time elsewhere, which Marc Marquez, he can, then do that. You don't have to use this technology.
Yeah, exactly. It's non-option. There's not like it's non-optional. Like you have the choice. If you don't like it, don't use it.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, it's like when Marc Marquez doesn't really like his TC, so he turns that down.
Yeah. Marc Marquez doesn't like his Honda, so he don't use it anymore.
Yeah.
It's just.
Yeah.
Oh, what would he use? What would he use?
I don't know. I think he'd be quick on a pooch at this point. You know what I mean? A 1973 Bull Taco, he could probably win on that when he's back to full strength. So he'd be fine.
2016 Honda. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just
RCDX. He'll use the one he was using on Portimao and win on it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, I have a feeling like we could see him, go back onto that 2019 bike as Nakagami has done, because Marquez didn't get on with that 2020 bike, and now he's back on it, or a very similar version to it, and he's just not enjoying it as much. I think if he goes back to that 2019 bike that he dominated on, I think we could see Marquez really, come back to the fore.
But Honda are a very, very proud company. They won't lose face having their main man regress onto an older machinery. That just doesn't happen.
That's true, but then you look at Yamaha, who had to bite the bullet for the exact same reason and put Fabio on the 2019 bike and use 2019 features, and he's leading the championship now.
Yamaha and not Honda.
Yeah,
I think as well that the problem you've got is that if you do that too soon, because Mark's only been on the bike for a few rounds, you need to give him the point of giving as much feedback as he can so they can improve it. Because if they just jump, yes, I get for a short-term gain, they jump back onto the 2019, and it'll probably go a bit quicker initially.
Yeah.
But if you do that, then you slow your progress down because you're not really giving him the chance to fully develop the 2020 and find out what. Otherwise, if you go to 2019, back to 2019, it's all well and good saying, yeah, we know where we went wrong, but they thought that in 2019 that we know how to improve the bike, and they created the 2020, which hasn't worked out very well. So I think there's maybe a danger of that as well.
I think Jerez test, I think Honda have lost their way based on Jerez, because the Jerez test, they brought 5 different chassis.
5?
Flipping
wow.
5 different chassis, like all with different carbon bonding thickness. I know one of them was a 2022. That's fine. That's fair enough. But 4 current machinery, all with different styles, different bits and bobs on them, different aero. They brought 4 different aero packages, 4 different frame packages. Like it's too much. You just
saying that they could have quite easily had 2 riders on the podium today and a win.
Yeah.
Saying that,
But I think on the whole, Honda are they it's too many cooks spoil the broth. Almost. It's they just need to get.
They had the same problem in F1. They had the same problem in F1. They had the same problem in F1 where they were too proud to change certain things, and they're a fantastic company. They are an amazing brand.
Yeah.
But they did have the same issue in F1, and they rectified it, and then they've had success. But unfortunately for them, they've already pulled out of Formula One just as they start to see the rewards of their fruit from the last kind of 4 or 5 years of the engine development. But
it's a shame it is.
We need them back. We need them back because I think it was they've got arguably one of the greatest of all time on one of their bikes, and a very, very, very good rider on the other. Plus plus the satellite teams.
They need to make us Paul Espargaro the leader, the development leader, because he has no basis of comparison.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
You only know the 2021-22 machine, and he'll have his ideas of how it can be improved. It might not work, but he doesn't know how the 2019 felt.
Well, he was one of the main men.
Honda's thing is Go on, sorry.
Sorry. So yeah, obviously he was one of the main men who pushed the KTM to the front. Obviously there was help from external people like a test rider. Obviously we don't have to mention his name because I want to use the fact that they had a test rider. And they had a special team working on this bike. They actually have 2 test riders, KTM. So maybe Honda needed to employ a second test rider to get some more feel with the bike and some more, like a second European test rider, because these European test riders have really changed the game up a little bit. Say a little bit,
KTM
quite a
ahead of
lot.
the game there.
Yeah, massively ahead of the game, and they've got
They've got a lot of top 10.
Yeah, and so they obviously shot up the order because of it, and Paul Espargaro was able to take 5 podiums last year because of it. So I genuinely massively agree with Jacob's point of maybe making Paul Espargaro the kind of the main man for development with KTM, because I think he could, Honda, sorry, because I genuinely think he could really add some things to Honda that maybe they don't realize that they can use.
I think they've been so hell bent, haven't they, on Mark? They've and you would do, if you've got a superstar that's winning you races and winning you championships and leaving everyone else behind.
Yeah.
Really, why do you need someone else on the second and third step of the podium? Where it's caught them out is that the development for the past years and years has been based around Mark. Well, loosely based around Mark, but let's be honest, Mark could get a tractor around there quick, he could, he really could on 2 wheels, just on 2 rear wheels in a front wheel, in a front wheel drive tractor. Work that one out.
But it's not. He's that good.
Yeah.
He doesn't, but he didn't develop a bike so other people could ride it, and that's the issue.
Well, he's not very good at development, I don't think. That's a massive statement, I understand that. But, him and Casey Stoner had hugely conflicting ideas, which is why Casey Stoner eventually left Honda.
That was the last really good handling Honda, the one Casey Stoner hopped off of.
Yeah, that was a genuine good Honda. Danny Pedrosa was able to do well on it. The Satellite Riders were doing well on it. The 2-on-2 and obviously the early 2-on-3V was some really good bikes. The 2-on-2 won a hell of a lot of races.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it was on different riders as well. It wasn't just Marc Marquez.
That period of 2010 to 2013, the Honda was an incredible machine. It was by far, Yamaha might have won titles, but I think the Honda was the best bike overall, best all-round machine.
It's crazy we're saying that when you look at how many titles Mark's won, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mark won despite Honda, not due to Honda for me.
Yes. Yeah, spot on. You've smashed that, Jacob, there. Yeah, he's won it in spite of Honda, not because of Honda.
Honda's given him all the support that he wanted. They've given him the squad he wanted, but in terms of the actual bike, no.
Yeah, I think you've
summarised that well. I think the only thing I will say is that is the handling of the bike and everything like that. As long as it's a winning bike, I think the riders are happy, regardless of what they've got to do it. So it'd be hard to change. Be hard to change a winning formula. That's one of the big things. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying and agree with you to a certain degree. I do actually agree.
Yeah.
But from Honda's perspective, is for it to be a little bit more of a comfortable bike, they could change their philosophy and potentially lose. Whereas they've had such success throughout the years, with all the different riders. So.
But that's the thing you said, to change a winning formula. I don't believe it's a winning formula. I believe it's a winning rider. And that's the tripping point, is Honda.
Well, it's the only bike that multiple riders are not winning on, isn't it?
Exactly. That is in the nutshell. Even riders on 2019 Ducatis are doing well. Not setting the world on fire, and they're rookies, you wouldn't expect them to. But they're solid. Yeah. If they were on a Honda, you can't imagine they would be at the same level.
Yeah, I agree. I think at the end of the day, the RC 2-on-3V, only 5 riders have won on it. Marc Marquez, Pedrosa, Crutchlow, Miller, and Casey Stoner. And then as soon as years have gone on, Pedrosa suddenly couldn't win on it anymore. Maybe that was just because Pedrosa was getting a bit older, etc. But as the years have gone on, they've gone 5 different riders have won on this bike. But, multiple riders should be winning on the bike. There's 2 Repsol riders, and only Marc Marquez has won since, obviously, Pedrosa as well. But, Pedrosa retired in 2018, I think it was. And Marquez is the only Repsol Honda rider to win a race on it.
Yeah, the thing is, I think You say, oh, just because Danny Gold. I don't agree with that. I think it's because they took Marquez's direction,
Yeah.
Mm.
and that was not the direction to take.
Well, that's
And
probably
now-
why Pedrosa didn't. Pedrosa could have stayed with Honda and built himself as a Honda legend. He could have remained with Honda and literally just spent the rest of his career with Honda, testing their bike, making their bike. Because their bike with Danny Pedrosa was phenomenal. 2013 bike with Pedrosa, outstanding.
Yeah, they went wrong in 07 because obviously first year of the 800s, and you
Yeah.
could see it was tiny, and
Yeah.
Hayden really suffered on it.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
And the lessons learned from that with Pedrosa too, in terms of his development, it sent it up a level. And then Mark comes in, starts winning, earns the right to be listened to, make no mistake, because
Yeah.
champion. But it was not the way to go. If Honda had listened to Pedrosa in 2014, we wouldn't be having this conversation for me.
Yeah, 'cause I think LCR they won one race in 2018
Yeah, because they've won with
with Cal.
Crutchlow,
With
yeah.
Cal, he had one race win and I think 4 other podiums.
Yeah.
Yes, I think he's probably the only. Is he the last rider on a Honda to win apart from Mark?
Yeah, he would be, yeah. And then obviously Jack
Yeah.
Miller got that win. Because obviously Cal's won 3 MotoGP races now, but it wasn't like he could. Cal undoubtedly has the talent to do it consistently. He won in 2016 and he won in 2018. He's a bike rider who we know, you don't become a Supersport world champion, and do really well as a rookie in World Superbikes by being bad. He's coming to MotoGP and he's done really well. I think if Honda had given him the best machinery, Cal Crutchlow could have easily been a 6, 7, 8, maybe even 10 times race winner. But because the bike is so developed and built around Marc Marquez, there's only so much scope.
It's like it's there are levels. Like Cal is an excellent rider, but he's not Marc Marquez. But then nobody is.
No, but I do think that he's better rider than what the bike he was given.
100%. If I wish he'd stayed with Ducati just to see how he would have done.
Yeah, on that TP15,
Yes, because you don't earn Honda's trust by being a poor rider. The Honda don't suffer fools.
No. If you're a rubbish rider on a Honda, it'll spit you off left, right, and centre.
Yeah, even Honda's mentality.
Well, if you're a good rider, it will as well.
Yeah.
Even Honda's mentality is elite. Honda want the best. They will pay for the best. They will chase the best.
Yeah.
And only the best will do. It's the Honda
I think
way.
they've got a fantastic across the Repsol and LCR team. I think they've got a fantastic rider lineup.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I think they've got a brilliant rider lineup. Without me being biased towards LCR. Shout out.
LCR is actually Lucio's definitely put excellent riders on their bikes because Honda have allowed him to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
No comment.
I mean, you only have to look at the Hondas. Yeah, you only have to look at Honda's 4 riders this year, and there's 11 world titles between them. With obviously Mark having 8, and then Paul having 2. No, 1. Sorry, and then Alex Marquez having 2.
Alex 2, yeah.
So there's a lot of world titles there. These riders are not bad riders. Honda.
Don't forget that with Alex, that he is a double world champion. He's won both lower classes.
There's not many riders that will be able to win both lower classes. Some maybe won one and not the other. Danny Pedrosa won both of them, but he didn't win the Premier class. Lorenzo won one, but not the other. Dovizioso won one, not the other. Stoner didn't even win either of them.
Exactly. That's it.
And even Taka, he was a race winner and multiple podium finisher in Moto 2.
Yeah.
The couple of, was it 16, 17 before he went?
Yeah, with the
LCR?
IWC
He's been
squad,
there a
yeah.
while now, hasn't he? Yeah.
Neither of the LCR riders are mugs at the end of the day, are they? They're both very, very good elite level riders.
Yeah. And I mean, Taka Nakagami as well. You may not actually know about this, but he's actually a Suzuka 8 Hours race winner back in 2010. Very young rider. I think he was 18.
17 he was.
Yeah, so, he's not a bad rider. He's won the Suzuka 8 Hours after all. He's they've got.
He was a 125 rider at the time.
He was a what?
125 rider at the time.
Fair play. Yeah, so.
Wow. That's impressive.
They've got immense talent through their veins. So why is only, at the moment, no riders winning on it? Who was that last podium? I genuinely think it was Alex Marquez.
Yeah, Alex and Aragon.
You know,
Alex, and yeah.
so there's definitely an issue with their bike going on there, and they really need to spread the power of dreams, as they say, across all 4 riders.
The masterstroke was getting Paul in.
Yeah.
Because once they wake up and realize that Paul Espargaro can develop a race winning machine, he might not have won it himself, but he developed that KTM into a race winning machine alongside the test riders.
From a bag of junk to that.
Yeah, like if we're being honest, like Danny and Callio did a lot, but nobody was racing it at speeds like Paul was.
How old's Paul? Was he 29?
Yeah,
30,
I think he's 29,
30?
yeah. He's still got legs, you know, he's still got a lot of time left in the class.
Your contract, didn't he?
No, he's only got 2.
I said 2 + 2 then.
Yeah, I think it's just 2 at the moment.
The option for 4.
Has he?
Yeah, so they clearly looking at a long-term plan with Paul.
Yeah, I hope so, you know. So
yeah, I hope so. Then they need stability. That's what it needs, is a bit of stability.
Because
with development and
I think Lorenzo quitting really threw them off.
Yeah, they did not expect that.
It's definitely not a bad place sitter, but he was never earmarked for that ride at that time.
No, he wasn't. At the end of the day, he was cast into that. He was signed with Mark VDS for another year after being cast off by Petronas, thanks to Yamaha and Jarvis. So, you know, so he was earmarked to do another year in Moto 2 before the obviously surprise of a promotion. So you can pretty much just wipe off last year because...
And he still had 2 podiums. Like
exactly, yeah.
For someone who was thrown in at the last minute.
In the deep end, you know, thrown into a Repsol Honda ride.
And without Mark's support as well, remember?
Yeah, because I think if those 2 had worked together, I reckon we could have seen something magical.
Like it would have been more than 2 podiums for Alex, I believe.
100%.
But again, might not. Maybe Alex wouldn't have been able to do what Mark can do, and maybe it would have been exactly the same.
Totally different riders, aren't they? That's the thing.
Yeah, they are.
If anybody can know secrets of a Honda to anyone, like if Mark's going to say to anyone, it's going to be his brother, innit?
Yeah.
I think he's the only rider who he would reveal anything to.
Exactly, yeah, because he'd want his brother.
To give Paul the secrets of unlocking that bike, is he? Because at the end of the day, it's a team, but Paul is still a competitor first and foremost.
Yeah, I mean, Mark doesn't even want to give Honda his data. No, Mark doesn't even want to give Paul his data.
I would tell him, look, you work for us. Give it to him.
Yeah.
Now. Because, like, at the end of the day, Marquez needs Honda more than Honda need Mark, despite how it looks.
You think?
Yeah.
Why is that?
Because
no rider's ever bigger than a manufacturer.
Yeah,
we touched it earlier. The pool of talent between Moto 3, Moto 2, and MotoGP. You know, as much as
the level of control that he does now.
Yeah, he's definitely got.
Maybe
I don't know. He's definitely got a lot of power over Honda. That it's quite kind of scary.
It's like any relationship, isn't it? When you're winning, things are great, and everyone's happy. And when you're not winning, you see what the relationship is. And I think time will tell the rest of this season.
I still believe Honda and Mark have a good relationship. Don't get me wrong.
Yes, I do. Yeah, but, absolutely.
I think they could almost not do without him, but I don't think they need him. I think they still really want him, and I think that's the difference.
Him. Yeah, that's the difference. Yeah, when you say they don't need him, you don't mean they're going to kick him out. Yeah, you just mean that that in a sense of as looking at the grander picture, but it doesn't paint the picture of the actual relationship.
Yeah.
Like that's it.
I think it's weird with Marquez because obviously we all know his talent and stuff, but I don't know how he'd fare with a different manufacturer because they won't give him what Honda give him in the way of the complete ability to just do what he likes. It'd be a lot stricter in another team. Kind of how Rossi's found with Petronas.
I think, and that's also like we say, Mark, like jokingly, Mark could win on a Bultaco, but realistically, there's only 2 other bikes I think he could get on and win straight away, and that's the other 2 V4s of Ducati and Aprilia.
Yeah, and KTM. I think he could win on KTM.
Yeah, I'm still a little unsure due to their frame. I think it would take him a bit of time.
Yeah,
but I think he would still fare better on that than the Yamaha or the Suzuki.
Oh, 100%.
I think he'd absolutely clean up on a Ducati.
Yeah, I think he would. I think he would just wipe the
even at 85-90%, which he's probably riding at the moment still.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he said his arm muscles 50% still. So
That's discounting the financial aspect of affording Marc Marquez.
yeah, he's comes with a hefty price tag. The Ducati didn't even want to pay for Dovizioso, never mind Marc Marquez.
Well, they paid for Lorenzo
Difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, difference is when you're winning, you pay for wins, don't you? Pay for championship wins. That's what you pay for.
Yeah,
you know.
we saw that with Lorenzo,
I think Holger actually ruined Ducati's plans of buying the league, almost doing a Man City.
Keelan. Keelan's gonna hate this. He's a Man City fan.
But they did, didn't they? Like, obviously, you've still got to put it all together.
Yeah, 100%.
You could field 11 strangers on a pitch who cost 25 billion, but if they're all useless and don't work together, you ain't going to win a league.
No, it's like.
And
I think
in terms of Ducati, they paid for Lorenzo. They paid him a lot. What was it, 20 mil over 2 seasons?
Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
And didn't even give him what he wanted.
Yeah, and he didn't win it.
Yeah.
But if you'd given him another season, would have he?
I think so.
No, I don't think so. I think Marx was so strong in 2019 that he
Oh,
won.
yeah.
Well, actually, I forgot that was the year. Yeah,
Yeah, so did I. Yeah, yeah.
Mark wouldn't have got the record points total, but he still would have comfortably won.
Yeah, he would.
Mark could have missed 15 rounds, I think, and still won it.
Yeah, that was 2019.
Points, like.
Yeah, ridiculous. It's kind of a
mental.
hard one to beat that.
Yeah, but I think like Honda, I think what they need to do is, like, I'm not being dramatic, throw the plans out, start again. It is that simple. Your frame doesn't work, your front end is not working as it should. Try again. Your Honda, you have resources, you can afford to do it.
Yeah, all 4 riders are now complaining about the bike. And all 4 riders are riders who could be competing on the podium week in, week out.
Yeah.
And all 4 riders are struggling to take top 5 positions because your bike is
like Stefan Bardal has done minor miracles getting that bike to even slightly behave for me.
Yeah, 6. He got P6 in Portimao last year,
If I'm discounting his finishes, what he's done to try and make that bike rideable, let alone
underrated,
compete near the top.
Such an underrated rider.
Yeah, Bradley is an absolute genius. But
I think what's going to happen. Honda are going to listen to this podcast and then make all these changes, and then next year they're going to be 1-2 every race.
Yeah, that's it. We are the.
That's what's going to happen, basically. I'll send an email with my address for the check. And
yeah, Honda. Where do we send the invoice?
But
exactly, yeah.
Like Bradley is a genius, but there's only so without. I'm just saying this in terms of needing to put it into words. You can only polish a turd so much.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like they need to go back to the drawing board, start again, because their engine is a fantastic piece. Like it's powerful. It accelerates.
Yeah.
What it's attached to is subpar.
Yeah, it's just bag of rubbish, And I think we need the Honda RC214. Obviously they changed the name every time there's a different engine class. When it's 800s, it's 212, 1000s, it's 213. But maybe they need the 214, and they genuinely need to just build a bike from scratch and rewrite history books and rewrite everything they know and hire new people, hire everything they need.
Take lessons from the World Superbike and go to street inline 4. I do.
Yeah. Maybe get the V5 back in.
Yeah, all that, please.
please, Honda. Begging you.
About that, and I loved that thing. Check it out.
Oh yeah, your article that you plugged last week as well. Someone's proud.
I promise I'll check it out. I promise I'll read it this week.
Yeah, it's quite proud of it because I love the V5.
Yeah,
so Labour love that.
It's a good bike. Right. So obviously we've had some pretty mental races today. They were pretty spectacular. They're a bit different to normal. Normally, obviously, we're expecting a bit of a scrap, whereas we're seeing today like 12, 13 second gaps between riders. But it doesn't mean they were any less exciting with all the rain, drama, crashes. Every rider was crashing pretty much, It was pretty crazy across all 3 classes, really.
Yeah, mental. Great racing, I think. Yeah. Kudos to all the riders that finished and didn't go down.
Yeah. And the riders
thought of 1 point in Moto 2. If you finished, you were going to get a point.
Oh, yeah. Pretty much. I mean, Moto 2, it was just crazy. All 3 classes. I mean, there was 16 riders in MotoGP finished. That was it. 16. Morbidelli nearly scored a point after stacking it twice. I think he sacked it once and then was just lingering around because he's 4 laps down by the end of the race. So I don't even know.
Mark was back up to 8th, wasn't he? After his first crash, he was back up to 8th or something like that.
So he was battling through.
Crazy.
Yeah, he did madness. But then, just across all 3 classes. I mean, Jack Miller. Who on earth could have expected that?
Well, to be honest, after last week, I think a lot of people kind of were.
Yeah.
I just think more importantly, Jack Miller expected it. I think that's he really,
I think that first win fired a load of belief into him, and now he's got 2. I genuinely think Jack Miller can now battle for that title 100%.
Well, I still wouldn't go that far.
Oh, I would.
Because I think, based on what we've seen so far, I think Pecco is now the favourite.
Do you?
Well,
because Pecco's damage limitation today
from 20th.
Short of phenomenal. If he didn't do damage limitation like that on a track that he clearly didn't like, he's not a wet weather rider. He was struggling a little. He said he's only done 6 races in the wet ever since he turned professional. Like,
I had him down as my shared rider of the day across all categories. I think that was
Yeah, that's it. If I can't see anyone else
in 4th,
like doing damage limitation quite like Pecco can.
Yeah, just hashtag do it like Pecco.
Hashtag go for you.
Yeah. But I don't know. I know you're having your opinions, but I think Miller's got it.
Is that?
Oh, hello.
What you call a champ?
You're lagging. You're very, very chunchy.
The best situation, but it'd be interesting to see. I think it'll be interesting to see.
Unfortunately, we can now. We've lost all of what you just said.
what you just said there at all.
Yeah.
It was amazing as well. I can't believe it.
Oh. Yeah, it was the best thing you've ever
The best thing you've ever said in your entire life.
In my life, in my life. No, I was just saying for Pecco, I had him down as the rider of the day across, apart from Miller winning the race. I think he was, that was for me a championship ride coming from way back, finishing people, just a quality ride. Yeah. And it'll be interesting to see how it goes between them this year.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how Ducati kind of run, because I think at some point there has to be a decision made by Ducati about who they think their strongest rider will be to actually attack this title. Because Miller's taken more wins than Bagnaia, but Bagnaia's been a lot more consistent throughout the season. Obviously, we're only 5 rounds in, we're only a quarter of the way through the season, and I think by halfway we'll have a lot better understanding, by when we hit Sachsenring and Assen and all that. But Ducati will have to make a decision at some point, I'm sure.
Can you already hear the Aussie saying, "Oh, they're going to favour the Italian"?
I don't know. I genuinely think Jack Miller has got what it takes now to battle for the title this year.
I've said before, I'll stand by it. I don't think he has the head for it. As soon as extreme pressure comes in,
Ducati-style pressure, like
the proper factory rider pressure, which we saw in Qatar with the expectation, and granted they were outside factors.
Yeah.
But he didn't seem himself either. He didn't have that Jack Miller spring.
No, it's true. It's true.
And I think Pecco is more equipped to win a title.
I think Pecco and like you said, Declan. I don't think there's going to be a choice to be made, because I genuinely think they're both going to be title contenders, and with the ebbs and flow of everyone else, form being a little bit up and down, it could be a case of those two going for the title. So it's not like they can choose one rider.
Yeah.
So there'll be other factors that come in. Will Miller think that the team's favouring slightly the Italian rider? Will his age play? Will he this kind of maybe newfound maturity that he's been talking about in his riding style, will that pay off? Although granted, we didn't see that earlier in the year with his purposely trying to run other riders off the track, but
yeah.
I don't see anyone else as consistent as Pecco right now. Fabio on a bad day comes 12th. You know what I mean?
I think.
Maverick Vinales is you might as well just say he's done now. His head's gone again.
What about Mr. Frenchman Johan Zarco though? You know,
Yeah.
he's got 3 second places this year. You know, obviously he crashed in Portimao, but he's got 3 second places to his name already.
I think Zarco was one of those when he has a bad day, he has a bad day.
You had a bad day. Yeah.
A 6 special day, God.
But yeah,
It's one of them interesting ones, isn't it? Who's got, Fabio has, last year by last year, he really struggled, but I think he looks really strong this year. And you see how happy he was to finish third today. His home race. He literally, had arm pump surgery. I know it's not the most innovative surgery or intrusive surgery there is, but still, to come and stick it on pole and be P3 in your home race,
outstanding, really.
And take the championship lead. Importantly, that was a really, really good, really good ride from him, and I think that will give him a lot of confidence again.
Yeah,
I think
very impressed with how he bounced back, because I thought he would be almost Marquez liked in that. I thought it would bother him enough, like not necessarily be a race ender, but bother him just enough that he was maybe missing the last couple of percent to get the podium. As it turned out, that was not necessarily a challenge, as it were.
Because he was really aggressive as well, mid race, wasn't he?
When he stuck that move on Miller, I thought, oh, hello.
Yeah, it was. I don't know. With Fabio, I genuinely think he's probably the strongest rider on the grid to take the title. Because obviously he had his issue with arm pump, but he's winning everything. And he's getting podiums. And did you know today was his first podium that wasn't a race win since Valencia 2019? So there's a little tidbit for you. But he's. I don't know. I think he's all round, and even today, he's never racing tricky conditions like this in MotoGP, and he's still on the podium after arm pump. I think.
But I'm going to put in a big butt here.
Oh gosh, like a Kim Kardashian sized butt, like.
Yeah.
Okay.
A proper badonkadonk. If you look at the MotoGP world standings at the minute, yeah.
Yeah.
Of the top 5. Like I'm not counting Vinales or Mia right now. Mia maybe will come good later on, but I think Maverick's already fallen apart. He's a watch you've bought on holiday.
Yeah, he's gone. Yeah.
Of the top 4, the only riders who have won titles are both Pecco and Zarco. Miller's not ever won a title. Fabio, crucially, has never won a top world class title. Yeah. He's won the Junior World Championship, and that's it. Which, again, a massive achievement in itself, but nothing like the pressure of a proper MotoGP championship win.
How many riders in MotoGP history have won the Premier class without winning support world titles?
Good title.
Well, the only one I can think that comes to mind right now is Casey Stoner.
Yeah,
Stoner. Yeah.
Let's have a look. Let's get.
And he was pretty alright, wasn't he? He was okay, wasn't he, as a rider?
Yeah, he's alright on his day. Let's have a look.
Had a good couple of days, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, let's go through. I mean, if you go back, obviously you've said Casey Stoner. You got Nicky Hayden before that. Then I don't think Crivier did, or Roberts Jr. did. I don't think Nick Doohan did.
No.
So
actually, Crivier might have won 250. Yeah, we won 125 on
a 125.
He did.
Yeah. So that's crazy. That's.
Pecco's obviously won a title, and most recently.
Yeah.
And I think that experience is going to put him in the driving seat for this title.
Yeah, it just shows. I mean, all the great riders you look at, obviously bar the odd one like Stoner of the MotoGP era, have all won titles in their respective classes before. Nicky Hayden was still winning titles over in America before he hopped on that Repsol Honda.
Yeah.
You have to win titles at this level or in the lower classes to really excel. You might take the odd title. Even Johan Mir last year, he obviously took the Moto3 title in 2017. I do think having that title experience under your belt will bode well for a championship, but I don't think you have to have it.
Until you've lived it.
Yeah, but I don't think you have to have it. But obviously we saw Fabio Quartararo fall and break apart under pressure. So it'll be interesting to see how he manages that again this year.
I think he'll be so much stronger. I think honestly, I think he's so fast. He's probably at the moment the fastest rider.
Yeah,
Like,
I'd say it's fastest.
Yeah, I've been out pace. I agree.
Yeah. But that
As
doesn't
a
always mean that you're
all
going to win the championship, though, does it?
No.
around package, I think Pecco is probably one of the best. It is his mannerisms, the way he works. You know, aside from being supremely talented, I've always said this about Pecco. Like since I've seen him, like even in Moto3, he was dragging that Mahindra to places that had no right to be.
Oh, absolutely,
And he's 24 years old.
He's so young, isn't he?
I think we've got, you think Fabio's 22.
Yeah, he's a pup, isn't he? Let's be honest. Like,
Little boy. Yeah.
We've got another 10. We've literally got another 10 years of these two fighting for titles together.
Oh, I cannot wait.
exactly.
Like, it's going to get juicy. I think, and that is a really key point, because I think when it gets to the nitty gritty, I do think Fabio is good enough.
I think Fabio's too emotional.
He's very emotional.
I think that's what makes him so fast, though. I think that's what makes him good.
And I agree.
Some riders it would make him not good. Some riders it would be. I think that's the really important thing for any rider and any athlete, is that they harness their own personality to make them as good as they are.
Yes.
I think you get a lot of rider coaches, a lot of strength and conditioning, and a lot of mental coaching and things like that. But I think sometimes you can go too far the other way. You look at all the riders across the grid, they'll have their own little traits. And I think that rather than try to oh no, that's not necessarily the way you should do it, I think that you should more enhance those traits, because it's what makes them unique and it's what comes most natural to them. And if being slightly emotional or being calm and things like that, I really think as an athlete, you should try to encourage that. Obviously, harness it in the correct manner. But I think that's why he's just so blooming fast. And 22, man.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. Like,
yeah, exactly, yeah.
It's definitely not. But I think it is a slight disadvantage when it comes to a championship title fight. In terms of race winning, I think look at Rodrigo's a very good example of that. You tuned out Rodrigo's aggression, and suddenly he was 18th.
Yeah.
I think if you tuned out Fabio's, emotions, he wouldn't be half the rider he is. But when you're competing against someone as mentally solid and supremely calm as Pecco Bagnaia, I think
that'll come.
I think
it'll
he's
come
going to
for
have
him.
to look at how to harness it correctly. And right now, I don't believe he has it.
Do you think it's one of them ones where if he doesn't win the title this year, if he does win it, he'll go on and be multiple world champion? And I mean that in the best sense, because I do think he is a very, very class rider.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Both of them. But I think if Pecco wasn't to win the title this year, it would be devastating for him, but I don't think it would affect him going into next year. Do you think with that emotion? Do you think with that emotion with Fabio, and especially what happened to him last year, being, everyone was saying, this kid's going to win it. He's so fast.
Yeah.
And do you think if it happened to him again, do you think, unless he's got the right team around him, which I'm sure he has, because he's done a very good job to start this year, I think it'll be a big, big task on a personal level to turn him and say, because I think even though they're very, very young, these riders are so young. I remember, being 20, I'm 35 years old now. When I was 22, I thought I knew everything. I look back now and be like, who was that kid? Do you know what I mean? And it could really, really, and I think, if Pecco wins it, or if another rider wins it, it'll give them such confidence, and it will mean then that the gap is bigger, because if he doesn't take it in the right manner, that's not questioning his kind of mental strength at all, because I don't know him personally at all. But I think that, and you can only look at what he's done this year, he's really improved. But it's a real danger, if he doesn't win it, like you said, that emotion then could really become a negative unless harnessed right.
I think Fabio's going to be a better rider as he matures.
Yeah, definitely.
Like Pecco basically is, I think he's there mentally.
Yeah.
Like I think Pecco is now the finished article. He has everything.
He has everything. Everything a team would want in a rider. Pecco's got it.
And Pecco as well. It's a when, not if.
Yeah.
Fabio, I think, is still an if, and that's the problem. Because
Crazy to say, isn't it?
When he's 25, 26, he's got those years of experience. And you do mellow when you're older. Like I was a really angry 20-year-old. I mean, I go around annoyed all the time, just at everything. Like, oh,
I do as well.
I am the king. My way is the best.
Yeah.
It turns out that actually my way was not the best, and I was just completely wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I think Pecco does have that experience and mental strength over Fabio Quartararo.
Even taking Pecco's Moto2 title out of the equation, now he is the finished article.
Yeah, he's obviously done the dirty work at Pramac.
And he's 24. He's 24 years old. That's an astonishing thing to say.
Oh yeah,
but I do agree with you.
Like Fabio will probably win a MotoGP World title at some point, but I think it'll be a later title.
So. Yeah, I hope so. I really do.
Pecco's the now, Fabio is the later.
Yeah,
put it that way.
Yeah, because although obviously on the timesheets it does look like Fabio is, he's the man who can do it. Pecco's only 1 point behind him. There's a singular point in them.
Yeah.
And Bagnaia has obviously done the dirty work at Pramac. He struggled. Yeah. He's had people talking him down. He's had Ducati talking down to him, saying he's not doing good enough. He's not doing well enough. He did underperform in Pramac. But when he found his feet and when he clicked, the same way he did in Moto2, the same way he did in Moto3, suddenly he turns into this absolute monster and just one of the best all-round riders you can ask for.
Yeah, like I wouldn't even say he underachieved at Pramac. He did what was expected as a rookie.
Yeah, I think
as a rookie, yeah.
I think it was like 15th overall, which isn't too bad. But I think the level of rookies is so high these days that was deemed as a bad result.
Plus, what you got to think as well.
Yeah.
Look how good Pecco is now. What's his confidence going to be like when he does take that race win?
Oh my god! Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. Again, that's not an if. That's a when.
Yeah, that is absolutely a win.
I think it could even be next race at Mugello.
I was just thinking that. I think it could be at Mugello. Oh, I would love to see Pecco take a win at Mugello.
Yeah, that would be a fantastic story, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Less deserved. That's the other thing. Like everybody's criticized Pecco in the past, me included, because I was thinking, it was this a step too far.
Yeah.
But then when we actually took a step back and looked at what he was doing, he was consistent. He was never wildly iffing and ahhing about. Like, he wasn't setting 52s, let's say, for example, then 54s, then back to 52s. He was always flat improvements.
Yeah.
And because of that,
I think we've kind of gone back to his 2018 season mentality of Pecco, because he basically gained a record for himself of never really crashing, and then he came to MotoGP and became a record of always crashing. But now I think that he's locked in his brain in. He's very rarely crashing.
It was same Moto2. First year, he was quick.
Yeah.
But he crashed a lot. As soon as he came to 2018, he beat Balder fair and square in 2018, first race of the season in Qatar.
Yeah.
And you could see the stature just
towering over everybody, really.
That first win, he suddenly became so self-assured that he'd already won the title.
Yeah, like
look at last year's champion. Look at last year's MotoGP champion. That's that consistent. And I think that's where that stems back to our conversation about the depth of the championship. I think we're far removed from having unless a manufacturer comes out with a crazy good bike. We've got too much talent to have one rider dominate, and the consistency is the key. You talked about, Jacob, about how Quartararo sometimes can be a bit up and then down. If someone one race fall or bad result outside of the top 10 could be the deciding factor of the championship. And I don't mean that, I'm not exaggerating when I say that.
No,
because I think there's so many riders will take race wins. So many riders will take podiums this year because the grid is stacked with absolute talent.
Yeah.
That it's going to be the consistency that you've spoken about Pecco that he had in Moto, which will be the key. I thought Pecco today, looking at the start of the race, languishing in 20th. I thought this was going to be Pecco's bad race, his bye, like the throwaway. So for him to come back to 4th place as he did.
Well, it was quite shocked because he didn't get 0 time, like air time, and he came across the line. Oh, you know,
That's
banging
Pecco's
out some
winner.
P4. Oh, okay,
Sorry,
wow.
like-
You know,
I think I don't think he's he loves the limelight like Fabio. Fabio likes eyes on him, I think.
Yeah, he likes the fame. He likes, he's mates with Neymar. He's mates with this person.
Yeah. You can tell like some of the photo shoots he does enjoy himself. And
Yeah.
rightly so. He's a good looking boy. He's young, he's living the dream that everybody has. Carry on, Fabio, you know what I mean? If it works for you, great.
Yeah. He's a bike
I
racer
think
making millions.
yeah, that's the key. Yeah, he might not necessarily like it, but he embraces it. I think again, without knowing him, I don't really know on that, but he might love it. But it's
I
embracing
think
it,
he
isn't
does.
it?
You could just tell with some people. Like, I'm not being funny. You don't pose in a 6-pack holding your helmet with air blowing around you for a MotoGP promo shoot unless you love yourself.
Yeah.
If I had a 6-pack, then definitely I would.
Like,
6-pack of beer, like.
100%. I don't begrudge him
100%.
anything he does because he clearly is living the life that's working for him. But Pecco's also living the life that's working for him outside of the limelight, just knuckling away, just consistently doing his thing, and it works for him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
More than one way to skin a cat at the end of the day.
Yep. Exactly. Right.
Who do we think? Yeah, who do we think's going to end up in that kind of third spot? If we think, you think a Miller or
I'm saying Miller. 100% saying
yeah.
Miller.
I'm going to say Juan Mir.
Really?
Yeah, I was going to say Mir.
Yeah, once I think Suzuki will find something because they do. That Suzuki just do. You know what I mean?
They were flying today.
Yeah.
In
they
both
were.
conditions. Yeah.
You compared how I don't know how to word it, which is really bad for a podcast. I know.
Thanks for
but, but what I mean is
Do sign language.
On an audio only podcast. Sign it out for me, Jacob.
Let me do more stroke really quick to tap it out of my total. No, Suzuki always seemed to pull it out of the fire at the crucial times, and I think they'll do it. I think it's too late now. Like, don't get me wrong, Mia's not exactly miles off. Like, if you look at the standings, Fabio's on 80 points, Mia's on 49, he's 31 points off. That's not a disaster.
No.
And once Suzuki find out how to make this harder front tyre work, which they will, because they have a sweet bike, they just need to find the setting, then you can look out.
Yeah. I think they'll do well.
But by the time they find it, because I don't see them finding it until maybe Sachs or Assen, at that point, I think the gap might be slightly too great.
And I think Alex Rins needs to stay upright as well. That's the major thing.
I've been very, very disappointed with Rins actually this season. I thought this was the season.
4 crashes in 3 races. No, 4
it was going to be the defining sign for him. You know what I mean? Like last year, he had an injury at the start of the season, did well. Soon as another one, like another cheap watch. As soon as a bit of pressure comes, boom, he's down.
He'll win at Catalonia or Saxon Ring, and everyone will forget about it.
Yeah, he'll take a win, and then that'll be that. It's Rins, isn't it?
Say something which people are gonna hate, but I would not keep him on next season at Suzuki.
Really?
He's proven that he cannot be trusted for a factory tilt.
Where would you put him?
Home, I said he.
Wow.
Swap him for Franco Morbidelli.
If Suzuki bring a satellite squad, put him there because he clearly knows how to make the bike work.
Yeah,
he's the development leader at that team. He's built a sweet bike, but he just can't make it work once the pressure's on. So I put him in a satellite squad and then put someone like a Morbidelli, maybe even a Vinales, back on the bike.
Oh, Vinales and Suzuki. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I've always said that Rins would go well on a Yamaha. I've always said it, even when he was a Moto2 rider, that a Yamaha would suit him well.
If he can't do well at Suzuki pressure, he would be even worse at the Yamaha pressure.
Maybe he needs to do a Polo Spargo and ride a bike that needs to be wrestled around a bit.
He has the right style. He just doesn't have the head.
I think rattling bikes around is the issue. I think it just needs a bit of a calmer head. I think he just needs. I think he's still a young lad. I think he's can definitely come back from it.
And if you look down the field, you can just literally pick a line out of most of those riders who you think are mentally stronger than him.
Yeah.
And that's such an important part in MotoGP these days.
Yeah, it is massively. I agree.
It really is, yeah. But I think also as well is that there's certain parts of that can be manipulated with a rider and an athlete to kind of work on. I think he's a really short step away from being there. We'll see. The rest of the season we'll see. I don't want to be too. I agree with what you're saying to a point where he really needs to improve
Yeah.
because clearly that Suzuki is it's a championship winning bike.
Again, I don't believe Suzuki ever go into a season expecting to win a title.
No, they're just there to.
Imagine if you go into Yamaha, like if Rins can't deal with Suzuki's pressure, if you win the title, great. If not, just still where you can. To go to the title as the goal, do it.
He finished third in the championship last year. He how many wins did he have last year? Was it one or two?
It was one.
One.
Yeah, one at Aragon.
One was it?
I mean, so I think
He was
he finished
consistent
third
last year. He was never
And he had
also never in a position to win the title because of his early season troubles. And this season he started fresh, bit of pressure was on him, and he's down on the road 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think
it's a harsh world, isn't it?
Yeah, like I'm gonna sound really harsh. I've always been a staunch supporter of Rins. I've always thought it's time that he's on his way. But after seeing this season, I'm starting to think that maybe it's not coming.
It's
time will tell on that one. I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt, and after I think it would be crazy to it just shows how fast paced the world is that he finishes third in the championship, and then
I'm not writing him off as such, but I think MotoGP has evolved quicker than he has right now.
Yeah, I can agree.
Was it 5 and 6 or 4 and 6 earlier this year? First 2 rounds. He had a pretty decent start, yeah.
Yeah, it was all right, and then he kind of crashed out of Portimao, and then so he was 6th in Qatar, and then 4th in Doha.
And then suddenly he's in the championship for Imola.
Yeah.
And then the next round we're expected to be better because it's more of a turn track at Jerez and Portimao.
Yeah.
And suddenly
Portimao was the one, that was a big knock.
That really has crushed him a little bit.
The next race will tell because, we should have good weather in
like just put it this way, let me put it to you quite simply. You are leading into Jerez's final corner on the final lap. Who would you rather have behind you? Alex Rins or Brad Binder?
Alex Rins.
There we go.
Yeah. So
how many seconds? Because if he goes down, he's taking me out.
Yeah, true.
One of it, they're about to stuff it up the inside of you, much like Rossi Gibberau.
Yeah, Binder will have you.
Yeah, well, I don't think Rins would do it.
I think he'd probably try and back out of it, but we've got to remember though he was in second. He's got now the lap record at Portimao. He was battling with Fabio, but he did crash. So I do think he's still got it there, but he's crashing.
My point is, certain riders you've beaten before you've even rolled onto the track if it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And I think Rins is one of those.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Right.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
We will indeed.
Hopefully.
Yes. Right, let's move on to Moto 3 because it was a pretty crazy race. It was some scraps as always, not as much scrappy and slicey dicey as normal, so it was still pretty chaotic. So obviously we haven't got Keelan here, so we can't really go for his talk to him about who he predicted, but he went for Pedro Acosta, Munoz, and Dennis Foggia on the podium. None of us are going to get any of these right. I just want to put this out. There is no chance in hell we've got this right. Jacob. Yeah, thanks for that, Rain. Jacob went for Pedro Acosta, John McPhee, who was close, and Andrea Migno. And then I went for Acosta, Onsu, and Masia. So obviously we saw Sergio Garcia take his first Moto3 victory since 2019, Valencia 2019, when he was actually one of the youngest riders in the grid. Actually, he could have even been the youngest. So we had that. And then we had finally Filip Salac take a podium at last.
Yep.
I'm so happy for him.
We've been waiting so long.
Salac I was starting to fear for.
Yeah.
When he started to worry for. because his teammates come in and beat him on that snipers team, and obviously not so much on the Redox team because Cornfall was very experienced.
Yeah.
But Salah is a rider we know can win. Size works against him, much like it did for Raul Fernandez.
Yes, but once he's got that now, I think he's going to do well.
Well, the monkey is now well and truly off his back.
Yeah,
and it's a big back.
It's a blimmin' heavy monkey. That monkey's carrying backpack full of rocks, you know.
No, it's a good ride, really good ride today.
Yeah, and there's a rider I bang on about quite a lot. A lot of people, they give him stick, you know, and his results haven't actually done too well.
Sometimes, but for second and third, obviously you're going to say no, but I think sometimes they don't help themselves.
They don't, no. But I genuinely think Riccardo Rossi is much better than what he gets credit for.
Yes.
I do struggle with that Bo team. I don't know. I think there's something missing with that team. They've had some good riders through there and they've not done too well. I think he needs to move out of that Bo team if we really want to see the real Riccardo Rossi, you know. I think he is a lot better than what his machinery has given him. You know, you saw on the opening laps, he dropped places incredibly quickly.
Yeah, I think he was at Grassini at the wrong time. I think if he was there now, it would be a very different story.
Yeah, because he kind of got slammed into Grassini coming from the CIV and the CEV as a rookie, and the Grassini just didn't really give him that much time. And obviously Jeremy Alcoba came to the fore, and Alcoba is obviously a massive talent. And so obviously he had a 2-year deal with the team, but they got rid of him after 1 year, which is a shame. But, you know, I think Riccardo Rossi has an incredible amount of talent, but he just needs something to kind of get him to the next level. Because I was talking to him a little while ago, and he was angry, you know, he was quite annoyed because he still wasn't being given, you know, he has all this talent and all this fire in him, but he hasn't been able to prove it on track. And now finally he's got that podium. He's got that massive blooming King Kong sized monkey off his back, you know?
Yeah. Like, I do think you're right. I think he is a lot. You can look down Moto3 and on paper you think, you know, he's a backmarker, but there are, like, some riders you know are better and it's just not working for him for whatever reason.
Yeah, spot on.
Some riders are better than others. Like, that's just part of life.
As you said, Declan, I just hope he's got the equipment underneath him now, because I do think he's one of those riders, you know, not having spoken to him, but looking at him, that will feed off the confidence of getting that podium.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
you know, if he's got the equipment underneath him, even if he can't be pushing for podiums every single race, you know, if he's pushing within that lead group at least, then, you know, again, that's going to give him confidence for days like today. Because it's a shame to see a rider who I also agree with you, I think has got immense talent.
Yeah, I do think he's better than what he's showing at the moment. Genuinely, I think he could be an easily, you know, as good as, you know, you had. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just going. I think him and
Salak will do better in Moto2 than they will in Moto3.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Sorry?
I think they really will.
Has proven that.
Yeah.
Like, at the end of the day, like, I've been backing Garcia all season.
Yeah, you have.
The
one time.
And he wins it.
Yeah.
John McPhee got us all excited, didn't he, as well? John McPhee got us all excited, setting fastest laps in the last couple as well.
I was not excited. I was like, don't you dare take Rossi's podium away from him. Don't you dare.
But a British supporter, you were.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
If you were a race supporter, you would want more Rossi on the podium just because it's his first. Like,
well, yeah, it was good to see. It was great. It was a feel good podium today.
Oh yeah,
in Moto3, and a really tricky race. You know, as we talked about, you know, and I said earlier on about everyone who finished and done well. But it's one of them things, isn't it? You know, we've had quite a few of them this year in Moto2 and Moto3. You know, though, you know, firsts and obviously with rookies and stuff.
Yeah.
But today was another win for the championship.
Yeah. I agree.
Seeing not as close racing as we've seen throughout the year, and not that kind of, you know, 5 into the last corner in the last couple of laps, you can still win the race closeness. But I think, you know, looking at the conditions, it probably did riders a bit of a favour not being too close to each other, because you know, as we see with a lot of crashes, most of them came when riders were with people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it is nicer, though, to see John McPhee finally finish a race, you know, after the 4 races of turmoil where he hasn't finished a race, to come back and take a P4 will be massively confidence inspiring, and will hopefully put him in good stead for a Moto2 contract for next year.
Well, that's what I was about to say. I don't even think he's going to be in the World Championship next year because I think the world moves so fast. He's already kicked his goose for me. Like he is no. I don't think he is in the conversations anymore. The tip of the tongue.
Yeah.
Where do you think he goes? Where do you think he can
Just
go?
super sport or something, I'd imagine.
Super sport, yeah, I guess. I
Like,
don't
he'd
know.
be a crew for any super sport team, wouldn't he? Let's be real.
Yeah,
But
I don't know. I don't know.
you know, like it's just at this point now. You know, he's what 26 years old, 27.
Yeah.
26, yeah.
Like you can't be that age in Moto3 and not finish 4 races on the trot.
Oh, he's the same age as is it Maverick? Is Maverick the same age as him? 26?
I think he might actually be older than Vinales because John McPhee is 27 next month.
You can't be that age
and
have 4 non-scores on the bounce.
Yeah.
Good ride today, though. Good ride today.
100%. Like I thought he'd do well today.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, were you predicting for a podium, didn't you?
Yeah, so I won't follow. But I just think on the whole, he's already done this season. Like, and I don't like saying that because I think contracts on the whole are decided far too early in the season. Like, you don't give riders a chance to show what they can do, perhaps after a bad start.
Don't say that to my riders.
If you're listening, guys, I'm joking. Nah, like on the whole, like if we're being totally honest, it's the way of the world, and it's never going to change. But contracts are decided sometimes before a wheel is turned.
Yeah, that's true. It's
true. It really is true. Yeah, it's you sort out your ride for this year, and you either have a performance clause or you'll have already, especially with riders progressing. The important. It's a really important factor is that some riders you'll see that are riding carefree and without pressure on them, it's because they know where they're going to be in 2022.
Yeah.
Yes.
Spot on.
And and literally, like if you're a Moto2 team manager right now, suddenly you're looking down the field, and like we saw it in the Petronas documentary when they were selecting Fabio. They were literally looking down the Moto2 championship,
crossing lines off, crossing riders' names off.
Look how long it's going to be before you get to John McPhee now.
Oh, it's going to be massive. But I don't know. It is interesting. There's a lot of riders and a lot of talent that are showing through. I mean, we had 3 rookies in the top 10 now. We've had obviously Adrian Fernandez in 6th, Xavier Acosta in 8th, I'll come to in a minute. But obviously Adrian Fernandez, he's really impressing me.
Yeah.
He's really, obviously his younger brother of Raul Fernandez, who won the Moto2 race today. But Adrian Fernandez, he did really well. He won races on a Beyond last year. No, took podium, in the CIV Championship. He rode for Laglice as well. Yeah. And he's I don't know, there's something about Adrian Fernandez. He's a very good rider. He'll always be kind of a little bit in his brother's shadow, but he's overcome a lot of criticism this year for the way he got his ride.
Yes, I was going to say is, I think, unfair because if you can put up the money to go for a ride, you're doing it.
Yeah.
Like, not being funny, if the team are prepared to take the cash, cool, you've got a world championship ride. And if you can honestly stand there and say you would not do that in order to get yourself into the world championship, then you're either lying or you don't have the wrong mentality. It's one or the other.
Yeah,
also as well is that if you're a team manager and there's very few riders or drivers throughout motorsport that will pay for a drive and won't be capable of delivering as well.
Yes,
that's the thing. You look at an example. Like you look at Rossi, for instance, and stuff like that. There's sponsors that have gone with him to teams, and yes, he's not paying for his ride, but if he's getting 15 mil from a manufacturer, and lo and behold, they've got a sponsor that's following Rossi that gets 15 mil as well. Fernando Alonso when he went from Renault to McLaren, one of the big deals was Santander, and if they followed him to Ferrari, and so they basically funded his drive. So he's not a paying driver,
no,
and it doesn't detach from their quite unsafe.
So a paid driver would do.
Yeah, didn't turn out too bad, has he? But yeah, no, I agree with Fernandez. If you've got the capability in terms of financially to get you there and then prove yourself, then great. And you don't finish, within the top 10 of Moto3 without having a bit about you, do you?
Yeah, especially top 6. He's a phenomenal rider.
Exactly. Yeah.
He is genuinely
Held
like,
off late race pressure as well. He held it
Yeah.
off really nicely in the changeable conditions. So that impressed me.
Yeah, exactly.
I
He had
wouldn't-
RT gas of all people on his tail. Like,
behind you, like we all know what Leopard do with their engine, but we
Yeah.
don't. But we know it's quick.
yeah, and he held off RT gas, who he's obviously battled last year in the CEV, and he knows RT gas. He knows how good he is. To hold him back. Fair play to him.
I wonder if Fernandez and Lopez crossed each other's paths because Lopez was back in Moto2 this weekend.
I thought that. I was like, oh, this is not going to go down too well if they do. But
Scrappy.
yeah, they're just like trading spit or whatever at each other.
Yeah.
Could
That
do
sounds
a
really
whole
dodgy.
podcast just based on that.
Yeah, we could.
But yeah, like all of them, all the rookies showed well. Like even like Andy Farid, who like technically he's a weird rookie because he moved down.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, and it's not something you see.
First point.
He took a podium. Yeah, he took his first point. He took his first point in the World Championship because he didn't take a point last year in Moto2, and now he's taking a point in Moto3. Another rider who was bloody, he's done well to take points today was Pedro Acosta. We all know he's great. He started from P21. He stacked it at the opening laps of the race and was down to 17th and somehow has finished 8th place. I put a meme on my story that was like, riders and they get overtaken by Pedro Acosta first time round, see him crash and then get overtaken by him again.
Well, that must have felt like you were kicked in the plums.
Oh, that would have been a horrific feeling. Like he has genuinely proven that he is well and truly a title contender already this year.
He's a very polished rider, and that's what Io do.
Yeah. Like that IO move for him is spectacular.
Still a good squad, but he wouldn't be where he is now if he'd stayed Bristol.
No, yeah.
I'm sorry.
100%, I agree, and I think there was a really telling point. When he was up to P8 and he was chasing down Artigas and Fernandez, and he saw his team just willing him to slow down, pointing at P8 after he'd come back, and it was a really telling moment to me about how fantastic a team can be at managing a young rider who wants to prove himself. And I think if he'd not gone all out, he could have even pushing top 5. He really is that good. But I think definitely towards the end of the race, the team did a good job of managing him and just saying, look, you're in a great position. You're actually going to extend your championship lead after getting up to P5, crashing, and then coming all the way back to P8. And not just pre-race prep and obviously giving him a fantastic bike, but even the management of a young rider. That was really, really great. I thought to see the team doing that.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah,
really, really good.
They've done an impeccable job at the end of the day, and like Jacob said, he's a finished, polished product, and he's managed to crash and extend his championship lead by 3 points. Yeah,
it's pretty specialist, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
It was just the manner of his. You look at his body language. He went down. Yes, it was a slow speed crash, but he went down and he got back on the bike, and he was just so confident.
He was
and,
straight
he wasn't overriding it. He was straight back on it. He wasn't overriding it. Do you know what I mean? And he just rode really well. And so he.
I said in the previous podcast, I think he's a 30-year-old head on 16-year-old shoulder.
Yeah, because he's basically, you saw, say, Jeremy Acosta, who crashed and they kind of like, and slugged back to it. Acosta held on for that thing for dear life, holding the clutch in to make sure it didn't stall, and just hopped straight back on it and was back on and within the race within like 5 seconds of crashing. Whereas Acosta was still stretching through the gravel trap to his bike at that point.
Yeah. He wanted to get back on the bike because he knew he could do something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's
one of them things, isn't it, where you make your own luck. I think he's got the touch of something about him, not just as a rider, but his mannerisms and the team around him. But also, when you're riding a wave, you make a bit of your own luck, don't you?
Yeah, you do.
3 words of any rider: confidence breeds confidence.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
they used to say about Schumacher, and even you look at when Michael was winning all of his titles and everything with Ferrari, and even back in his Benetton days, and Marquez.
Hmm.
Marquez had some spectacular accidents, but they were always in free practice. Never when it mattered. He was always
Yeah.
pushing to the absolute point. Yes, he had some offs, but he'd very rarely do, and that's what worried me a little bit. But we'll come on to in a second when we cover a little bit more about the race results of MotoGP and stuff. But I think with Costa, you see, he's just got that little bit of something about him when it all falls into place, and when the stars are aligned, the stars are early doors to say that, but I think you can already just really tell from that. Really impressed with him.
Yeah, he's really has come on and just absolutely stunned. I'm really genuinely impressed with him. So yeah, I'm really impressed with what he's doing at the moment.
Mm.
Yeah.
He stepped it up. He stepped. We keep saying it, but he stepped up expectations of what a rookie should be.
He really, yeah, and I think that will be again. There'll be other rookies looking around and people that have been in the championship for a long time that will need to look at themselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they will really have to look at themselves and evaluate their performances and how they've done over the last few years, because you've got older riders in the class who are just not performing at the end of the day, and this precedent that he's setting is really, something else.
Mm.
But yeah, so obviously moving on to Moto 2, we had a fair few, incident-packed races today. They were, pretty interesting to say the least. Obviously, we've got Ralph Fernandez back on the top step of the podium in Moto 2, taking a second race win. And
Yep.
obviously, he won his first at Portimao, and now he's back on top in. Where is he? It was Le Mans, wasn't it? Back on top
Le
in Le
Mans.
Mans. Yeah. Back on top in Le Mans. Fending off his teammate Remy Gardner as well. That is, outstanding, to be honest.
Yeah, really good. I mean, that again, just a fantastic showing from the team. Two very, very good riders. Remy came on really strong at the end of the race, but I don't know whether Fernandez had just kind of already pulled the pin earlier and was managing the gap. But I think, yeah, really, really, really good ride from, and I think they generally look happy for each other as well, which is quite a good thing. They get to a point probably where they're going to be fighting each other for the championship, but yeah, really, really, really good ride.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really impressed by Ralph Fernandez. He took pole. And last year we saw he was a pole hound in Moto 3, and then now we're back in Moto 2. He's just continued that form, and it's really interesting and phenomenal to watch, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just great to see that riders living up to expectation a bit, not wasting their talent. I think that's a really, really big thing. You see a lot of riders wasting their talent, and I think we're seeing some of these rookies that are stepping up straight away and doing such a great job. Maybe because they haven't got into bad habits, I don't know, but they're just no, they've got no fear, or they know what their plans are. They're being looked after well, so yeah, they're just fulfilling their talent and some, so it just and riders like that are only going to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Riders like they're going to be better. Shout out for Digi as well. I think he had 2 long lap penalties and ended up finishing P8. I thought that was a really good ride.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, P8. He took not one, like you said, but 2, because he went in for the first time, cut the corner on it, and was forced to do a second one, which is so savage.
Got a bit greedy on under braking for the first long lap penalty. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they was like, nope.
Yeah.
Not that he probably didn't benefit at all from it, because if anything, he was coming at more of a straight angle. But they still gave him a second one.
Yeah, exactly. It was tight and it was tough, but rules are rules at the end of the day.
Rules are rules. Yeah, rules are rules.
Yeah, but obviously we've talked about rookies, and Tony Arbolino in 4th place.
Mm,
Like,
very
I'm
good ride.
really impressed by him, because he's kind of a rider who's kind of sat around P25 most of the sessions. 25, 24th, around the 20s outside of the points. And so to come in and take P4, that's massively impressive.
Yeah, really impressed. I thought again, it's some the days like today are when it gives a rider a chance who's maybe not had necessarily the greatest of seasons thus far, or been riding a wave of a bit of a challenge, and you get their head down and put in a really, really good ride, and then they hopefully will let them kick on a little bit for the rest of the season. On the flip side, you'll have riders that go down or make mistakes. We had obviously so a few crashes. I felt bad for Roberts after he was riding so well. I just hope he doesn't knock his confidence too much.
Yeah, I was.
It was unlucky. Like you could see, his breaking point was there, but suddenly it was filled by a skybike.
Yeah, I was gutted for many of the crashes. Augusto Fernandez finally showing some of that form that we've been desperately needing to see since 2019, and he stacks it. Aaron Canet stacks it first lap. Alonso Lopez. Yeah, I was too. And obviously Alonso Lopez had a real good chance to prove himself. Obviously because he's doing well in the CV this year, stacks it. Sam Lowe stacks it. Cameron Bobier out of 6th place. I was heartbroken.
All the right, like we all know, I'm a Stefano Manzi fan.
Yeah.
But today, I think, was a real opportunity for him. Like you could see in general, he was there. He was hovering around the top 10 all the time.
Yeah.
Start was excellent, and then classic Manzo, bang on the floor,
straight down. Yeah.
And Balda was. I think Baldassarri was more unlucky than crashy, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean it's mad because Baldassarri is only 24, but he spends I already think his career's done, and he's only 24.
Wow.
I mean, yes and no. I can see where you're coming from because he's declined.
He's been given a chance at Ponds for 3 seasons and made nothing of it.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's now in a place where he knows and loves.
And he's still crashing.
If he's going to succeed but I mean, it's the MV and it's a very different machine. It's a steel frame for a start. Like, we all know how difficult that is from the MotoGP class.
Yeah.
We all know my 2 favourite riders are Manzi and Baldassarri. So obviously I pay special attention to those. But Baldassarri, I think, was very unlucky in that he ran off in the dice.
Yeah.
But we saw riders who are considered much better than him do the same. It was one of those Le Mans things, I think, sadly.
Yeah. Hashtag just my Le Mans things. But there is a rider.
I felt bad for Xavier Vergi as well because he got taken out, didn't he, by Sam Lowe's. I felt bad for him.
Yeah,
because he was having a good race actually, and
innocent bystander in that, wasn't he?
Massively innocent,
And he's had a half decent start to the year actually, and I thought another top 5 for him would have really pushed on because when we're looking at Pramac and stuff like that, and obviously a seat becoming available, if he's constantly pushing top 10s, top 5s and stuff like that, you've got to put him in the argument. Being you've got to, haven't you? So I think there'll be 2 seats available. If I'm honest, I think there'll be 2 seats available there next year. But
that's bold.
What, in Pramac? Oh no, in Petronas.
Yeah, Petronas. Yeah, I really do. I think Morbidelli will go on to pastures new.
Yeah, I can see it happening.
Because last year everybody was saying, "Oh, if anybody's going to go up, it's Jake Dixon."
Yeah, now look.
Yeah, look how quick it can change. Look what we said in Moto 3. It comes true again. Like, it's just suddenly confidence comes, and Vieja is now the top dog.
Yeah,
I
think that with Jake, I think they need to look at the bike and what's going on there because he's a quality rider.
Yeah, he is,
and a confident young lad. He's a quality young lad, yeah, and I think. If I didn't say a nice word about him, then Danny Buckingham probably wouldn't speak to me again. But
yeah, you gotta do him a solid there.
But no, I do. I think he'll generally turn it around. I didn't see what the issues were for him today, but we know from how good he was there last year and in those conditions. Ultimately, obviously, it didn't end the way he wanted to, but. The end of last year, he started really well. It finished really, really well, and we know he's a lot better rider than that. So I think it was just one of those days.
Like, he's not a 20th place rider in Moto 2, is he? Let's be honest.
Never. No,
but
never.
I think now, Vieja is now a lot where we expected him to be in terms of competition for Jake, because we all know how good Vieja is. He's ridden for some of the best teams in the paddock. He clearly has something.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But he's
for
been
him
how many been around? How many years has he been in Moto 2?
Oh God,
to
5,
feel,
a
6?
yeah,
long time now. Because
yeah, he was tried on Tech 3, didn't he, on the Mistral?
yeah, I remember him in the CV Championship years
Oh,
ago.
he's in Tech 3, yeah.
But
Who did he battle in the CV now for the title? Can't remember now.
Pons first time round.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was Pons. Yeah, 2015. Yeah, he made his debut.
That's right, yeah.
Wow.
Like
Crazy.
Vieira is a very, very good Moto2 rider. Like
Yeah.
a very, very good Moto2 rider. And last year, I think, was more of a blip. I still think Dixon, on his current form last year and like with the confidence he was having, would have beaten him over the course of the season, like without
Yep.
even if we'd had a confident Vieira. But now we're seeing the true competition, like, and Vieira's a lot closer.
Yeah, he is miles closer. Yeah, I can agree with that 100%.
And then, like the if two spots do become available for a Patronus, suddenly it's not so nailed on who you move up if you fill one of the spots.
Yeah, it's tight. It's tight at the top. Yeah, it's
it's the nature of the Moto2 beast. You can literally change from one week to the next.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think I wanna
Definitely.
highlight another rider who's done really well. That's Ayagura. You know, we talk about him quite a lot, but again, you know, he's 7th place in the tricky conditions.
He's riding like a seasoned veteran, isn't he?
He is absolutely class. You know, Japan. If Japan want a good rider coming up, he's 19 years old as well. Don't forget, Ayagura is 19 years old,
Wow.
and he's putting in some incredibly solid performances.
Yeah. For at the start of the season, when he was right down the bottom of the time sheets,
Yeah.
I actually received a few messages off various people on my Instagram,
Yeah.
and they were saying, why is Agura moved up? I was like, wait and see.
Yeah, just wait and
Yeah.
see. And oh, he's 20, sorry, but yeah, you know,
Like look at the names he's beaten comfortably today. Like experience as Simone Corsi.
yeah,
He
Jorge
Navarro.
Navarro.
Smashing
Jorge Navarro.
a couple of seasons ago was the next big Asian thing.
Yeah,
You know, he smashed Marcos Ramirez. He absolutely battered last season's Moto3 champion Albert Arenas this season.
yeah, it's crazy. You know, Vietti as well, obviously down in 20th, second to last.
Yeah, he's. If Raul Fernandez wasn't doing so well, we would be raving about Ayagura and how he's doing as a
100%.
rookie.
Yeah, no, I agree, absolutely.
One to watch for the rest of the year, definitely. I think.
Yeah,
He's only going to get better.
And you know, he's got the backing of Honda and
Yeah, he does, yeah.
in the Mitsu as well. You know, and something that should be praised about really is that you know those nationalities, they look after talent really well.
Well,
They don't just
from the talent team, doesn't he? And CV.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah, he's come up through the ranks. Yeah,
Well, it proves that those sorts of things work in the right way, given But it's not just about the budget; it's about being put into the right team for the rider, and as well as making sure then that you keep working with the rider.
Yeah.
I think
and clear.
not like what they've done previously. Like they moved Kip up too early, Carol Powie.
Yeah, massively. He won 2 races and then bang straight into Moto2.
I was genuinely fearful that they'd done the same with Agura.
Yeah, but he's
Yeah.
proven as well.
Yeah, like we had obviously Takuma Matsuyama make his wildcard debut this weekend.
Yeah, great rider, if I may add.
Yeah, in Moto3.
Yeah.
He must have been looking at Ayagura and thinking, that's the example.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, shadow of a doubt, absolutely. Yeah, spot on. Yeah, I agree with that.
But that's what we're missing. That's what I think we're missing in the UK a bit. Is there's not that direct path of seeing riders. We've had some really successful riders in MotoGP,
Past,
Moto2, and stuff. But I think there's a slight. That's why I think the ITV coverage this weekend will do really wonders.
Yeah, they're doing it for Silverstone as well.
I was about to say they're doing it for Silverstone. That's going to be the big one because people see the words British Grand Prix and see it on terrestrial telly.
Boy.
There's lawnmower racing. If it's a British Grand Prix, National Pride takes over and they will watch.
Yeah.
Exactly, especially the fact when it costs £300+ to go to a British Grand Prix Formula One for a day.
Exactly.
Yes,
mental.
F1's getting out of touch for the common man for me.
Really is. It really is. Yeah, it really is. But I think on that, it's great to see countries and businesses getting behind riders but it still has to be done the right, because you can chuck money at it and be a fool, with money. So good to see riders taking advantage of the opportunity they're given.
Because speaking of riders taking the opportunity, one rider I did really want to mention was Barry Baltus.
Yes, back from injury, P16. Solid result.
And, Barry Baltus, on paper, you'd be forgiven for thinking, what's this guy doing in the MotoGP World Championship?
Yeah, he's only 17.
But it's not that simple. It just isn't. He's bigger than Fernandez and Salas were.
Yeah, he's nearly 6 foot. He's huge.
He really struggled on Moto3 size-wise.
Yeah.
If he had been a smaller rider, he would definitely have been coming into Moto2 as a probable top 5 Moto3 rider for me.
Yeah.
But as it turns out, the cards fell that he didn't actually score a point last season. But now he's got into the bigger bike, and look where he is.
Yeah.
Now he's competing on the NTS regularly. In testing, he was regularly outclassing Cyrene, who is an experienced Moto2 campaigner.
Yeah.
And for him to go and do that on what is the worst chassis on the grid, let's be real.
Yeah.
If he manages to score a point on that at any point this season, that has to be considered a success.
Yeah, it was one place on it.
Let's hope.
Cyrene's got it. Now he's Baltus's turn, and I've got no doubt Baltus can do it very soon.
Yeah, I agree. Right, so moving on to the final Premier MotoGP class. Premier. So in MotoGP, it was an interesting race. Finally we've got a flag to flag, the first time in a long time, and it created carnage. We had riders flurrying down pit lane. Riders speeding with Jack Miller and Francesco Bagnaia, each receiving a 2-lap penalty, and still both taking top 4 finishes, with Miller winning the race with 2 long lap penalties. It was a really interesting race. Obviously, both Suzukis stacked it as well with Rins and Mir. So, that one didn't bode well for them at all. But
what I was most gutted about was the Aprilias.
Yeah, both of them breaking down as well.
They've had what seemed to be such a good engine this season. They finally seem to have figured out how to make an engine that's not made of cheese.
Yeah.
And then along comes Le Mans at the same place as well.
Yeah, at the same place, so the bikes blew up.
Because Alish, I think, would have broken the current record for Aprilia. I think he would have got this.
Yeah, you know whose fault that is?
Yeah, Lorenzo's.
The Spanish Mafia.
Lorenzo
standing in the back of the.
No, Zarco's fault.
Yeah,
in a tree somewhere. In a tree with a sniper rifle somewhere.
The reason I bring up Aprilia is because now, after this weekend, I feel like Lorenzo Salvadori has proven he belongs.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Very impressive. All weekend, very impressive. Yeah.
He actually looked for the first time since he got on the last season's bike. He looked confident. He looked like he actually fit the bike, and his setting was what he wants.
Yeah, he did look really strong. Yeah,
He's had so many people criticizing him, and some of it rightly so. But to say he doesn't belong in this World Championship is a step too far.
Yeah,
I think that's people overlooking Aleix, how good he is.
Yes.
And also, obviously giving Salvadori a chance to settle into the championship, because to get on any MotoGP bike is pretty impressive. And I think we look at phenomenons that come in and win races and get podiums and pushing top 5 straight away as rookies, and get forgiven that that's the norm. I think.
Yeah,
whereas actually, it's not. It's really not.
Yeah,
this will be
skewed, haven't we, by amazing talents, when in reality, good talents are still good enough.
I'll tell you what, there was some big on the bike changes. It really ruined a few people's races, and there was some really slow bike changes because I think Fabio got a penalty, didn't he, for stopping at the wrong?
He stopped at Mavericks.
You see his arm as he ran towards his bike. He was almost as if to say, "Oh my God, what did I just do?"
Yeah,
what did I do? Yeah.
Yeah, that was
That's
quite funny that, but it
There was
was
quite a lot of big changes within that in terms of the pecking order, where they
yeah.
came in
you
quite
could see
close
people
and
out to practice of it.
Yeah, and
mm,
the most interesting one for me is the fact that Mark Marquez led the race for a few laps before obviously
oh,
crashing
what we've all been
twice.
dreaming of.
I know, but it shows he's still got it. He can still lead a race, but if he did crash, but Marquez, that is confidence inspiring for him that he can still lead a MotoGP race, and he was more mad about his second crash than his first because it was a silly
Mm.
mistake. So
Yeah, I think that's going to make a lot of people sick.
yeah, because now he knows that I've got it. I've got what
But
it takes
not
now.
even in the paddock, I mean, for some reason, Marc Marquez is not a very liked rider.
Mm.
So for a lot of people, I think they were hoping that he wouldn't come back the same rider.
And he's
I think-
he's coming. He's coming.
Yeah.
Mm.
Sorry, guys.
He is, but would he have had, like we've seen him with these phenomenal saves and stuff like that, man. I just think that Mark's we'll see.
We'll
I
see.
think,
I think Mark
yeah.
would have had more chance of saving him. Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Because he's still riding with like his elbows out a bit more.
I'm not saying he
Well,
would
I-
have because it's wet, but
Yeah, true. Yeah.
What I like about the way that he's riding is that and it's what makes him great is that he's still riding as if he's got something to prove.
Yeah.
Whereas, if God willing, that's not the case. But if
he
if he wasn't the same rider, then it would not detriment anything that he's achieved previously. It would just mean that he's unfortunately succumbed to a bad injury. But he's come back with a mentality: I've got something to prove, and that's what I think makes him so good.
To prove, doesn't he? He has something to prove to himself.
He has to get that 10th title.
And not even that, like he has to. I think if he came back and didn't at least try to prove to himself that he was the same rider that crashed, I don't think he would ever be happy.
Yeah, it would ruin the rest of his life, genuinely. No amount of money, fame, whatever, could replicate and bring back what could have happened,
He does actually have something to prove, and it's only to himself. As we've said before, the only rider who could beat Marc Marquez is Marc Marquez, and it's proven again.
Yeah, I mean...
he's... Sorry, go on.
No, Karen.
Oh, I was just going to say his brother had a good ride today, actually. I was pleased...
Yeah, they both did,
pleased for at some point it was looking really, really possible that Taka was going to get that podium.
Oh,
no. He was running in he was running in fourth, and then Miller got the long lap, and then Quartararo got the long lap.
And he was third at one point.
I was thinking, he's going to get up to second. I was like, and there was a big gap behind him, but there was Miller, Quartararo, Pecco, and Zarco just had phenomenal pace in the drying conditions.
Both LCRs ended up where they should have been. Like in changeable conditions, sometimes you don't end up quite where you should be. But I think they both ended up about right for their pace.
I agree. I think they did a really good job.
Good job.
And then Zarco could have won that. I think a few more laps, 2 more laps. Zarco, and if he'd obviously attacked the end of the race a lap earlier, I think he could have done it. Because he slowed himself
Miller
down.
had it.
Yeah, thank you. Miller always had something in the pocket.
True, yeah.
I think he even said, didn't he? He turned down the TC to kind of get him within that sort of 5-second window, and then just bumped it up and put in a couple of decent laps.
Yeah,
I think you saw there was a really, really fast progression for Zarco where he was like 0.9, well, 1.1 seconds quicker than Miller.
Yeah,
and then it plateaued. It plateaued at 4 seconds for the last 4 laps, didn't it?
Like as soon as Miller needed to, I think he had just a little bit in the back pocket that he wasn't at the max. If he'd been at the max and Zarco was coming at that speed, different story. But I don't think Zarco was ever in a position to win that race.
No, that's fair.
I think really good ride for both the Tech 3s as well, or Tech 3, as I should say. Both, a P5 and a P9.
Yeah, really solid race.
The Corona battled with Rossi, who we know is good in the wet, all race, and beat him.
Yeah.
Like, that's a feather in the cap. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And, I think, Rossi's race got ruined a bit by one of his academy riders, unfortunately. Because I think that the pace for him and Espargaro, Nakagami was pretty similar. I think when you look at it for the
Yes.
rest of the race. But yeah, Vinales, Maverick, I just
What can you say about Mav that we already said? His head's gone. Look where he is. As soon as the rain came, he fell 4 seconds off in the space of a lap. That ain't
and he was
a World
leading. He was
Championship.
leading, wasn't he? He was leading.
That's not a World Championship head on the shoulder.
It's really not at the end of the day, and he's just fallen apart again. But going quickly back to Tech 3, I just want to say, fun little fact, that their Moto 3 and GP results were identical today with the 5th and 9th. So
Yeah.
there's a little fact for you. But yeah,
Someone's had a bet on. Someone's won big on a bet today.
yeah. But yeah, obviously Petrucci did a solid race in obviously tricky conditions.
Well done him. I'm really pleased with him because I think he's
Yeah.
got really he had an unnecessary stick last year. I think you guys
Yeah.
covered it last week when you done a Ducati feature, and
Yeah.
he's had a really unfair stick. He's on
Yeah.
that bike, which we know is is like he's riding his daughter's little pedal bike with stabilizers on, and I don't mean that.
Yeah.
I mean that in a joking way, not in a
Yeah.
derogatory way about the team, But I think brilliant ride for him. Well done.
Yeah, he did solid, but obviously it was a shame to see what's his face, Franco Morbidelli crash out. It's a bit controversial. I'm not going to go into it too much, but because I've got massively different opinions. But
what is your go on? Do it. What is your opinion?
No, not saying it.
Say it.
Nah, I'm not saying it. Not saying it.
My opinion is that Morbidelli went for a move that was not available. So
he was in too hot.
His own fault.
For sure, he was in too hot, but I think Paul had some influence. But that's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. And
Paul
obviously,
influence, but Paul also had track position.
Yes, but it did destroy Rossi's race as well, which means he now goes another race. I think it's now 11 or 12 races without a top 10 finish for Rossi now.
Yep, but
it's crazy.
Going back to it slightly, Paul had every right to tip in when he did. That's the seal for me. It's not like Paul acted poorly. Morbidelli was the one out of order for me.
Fair enough.
I think Rossi's and Paul's were racing each other and had a good little scrap, and I think Morbidelli had just been overtaken, hadn't he? So he was trying to kind of make back. He'd just been done by both of them, I think.
Yes, that's right.
He'd just been done by both of them, and I think maybe trying to win back a position too quickly, evidently then cost him a little bit on that. But yeah, just
Morbidelli's move, because he had to try and make it because he could see Miller and Fabio disappearing up the road.
But he twisted his ankle. I think he's done his knee again, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see if he's done like an ACL. Hopefully he's okay. But I think he must have.
He was hurting.
He went down holding it. Yeah. So I didn't see anything about him after that. I didn't see whether he walked off on his own steam or anything. So hopefully he's okay.
Well, he was doing weird stuff.
Yeah, as he went down, like as he was paddling. Then like where he come off the bike before he'd even hit the ground, he was holding his knee.
Yeah, I think it took like 4 laps for him to get fixed because he finished the race 4 laps behind, and a few laps after his
Rossi
crash.
had gone off. Yeah,
they were like trying to start his bike. A few laps later, I was like, "What the hell's going on here?"
Yeah, I was really weirded out by that. Yeah, because I thought Rossi had gone off. Because I saw the Petronas bike being started, but
really odd. That.
Shame for Rossi. I think like you said, a number of races now outside of top 10. Progress, definitely progress for him, but obviously, he's not there to be finishing 10th, is he? Let's be honest. He's the
Yeah, I think if he can't build any higher than he is, as I've said, if this is his peak, he end year next season.
Yeah.
Well, I think what was a nice thing to see as well is when his love for the sport seems to be as there, but he's kind of maybe he's shifting his focus. He's always there supporting the riders in Moto 3 and Moto 2 as well, which is great to see a champion of that stature doing that.
Yeah.
So I think the great thing about the Doctor is that his legacy will still be focused on the championship. He'll still be influencing what happens in MotoGP through the academy and stuff like that, even when he's not riding. So I think
some people don't quit because they have nothing once it's ended. Like racing is their life. But Rossi's got something to look forward to after racing with his academy. So that's how you know he's just riding for the sheer love.
Oh, he's just riding it because
Exactly.
he enjoys it. Yeah.
And you can't knock that. You can't knock that because
No.
of how
It can to a point though, because he's taken up a very good ride there. Don't forget.
yeah.
And that's the thing. Like if he was on his own team, on like a Sky VR46 Yamaha, just doing his own thing on his own team, which is funded by him. Fair enough. Ride until you're 50. You know what I mean?
Do you reckon he'll do that next year? Next year, get a
Yeah.
podium with his own team and then sail into the distance.
The podium.
The dream, innit?
Like, ciao. Ciao,
Down to the
ragazzi. Like,
mic drop, and then boom.
Yeah.
He quits.
Exactly. Yeah.
see you later.
What was that? I just got a podium. Just got a podium with my own team. Boom.
Nice.
Now
There,
I'm out.
done. Yeah.
Nice.
But no, I think you're totally right. He's in a squad which is a very, very good squad. I think you've got to look at what Franco did. Yeah.
Perfect.
But the same goes for Maverick. How could there be 3 Yamaha seats available next year?
Well, if you're sacking Rins, like I said, if like Suzuki don't keep Rins, like which I don't think they should, then you also have to apply the same to Vinales. And has he done enough? Okay, he's won, but the reality is no.
Is he going to win you a championship? That's the thing. Again, he's a young lad. He's only 26.
Yeah,
He's been in MotoGP for a long time.
Yeah, he's a cheap macho, and
And I think it's. Do you know what's really telling is that I'm not using this as a way to stick up for Valet, but if you look at last season, and this is probably more of a detriment to Vinales, is that Vinales is in the satellite squad. Towards the end of last year, when Yamaha were having lots of issues, Rossi and Vinales were coming across the line together.
Yeah.
But
I think that's more showing the decline of both riders as opposed to.
That's my point. And again, look at today. Look at today's result. I think it was only 1.5 seconds between them on the race. But and we all know that Father Time has come and Valentino's nowhere near as good as he was, but he's 40 something years old. But we're talking about a young rider in the factory team, aren't we? With Maverick.
Imagine the talent of Maverick with the head of Rossi and the ruthlessness of Rossi. The Yamaha would have a champion.
Yeah, I hope he gets something as well. Yeah, because I hate the idea that he has one bad lap and the commentary we've talked about it, we joke about it and stuff, but again it's just one of them things with riders. It's like, his head's gone. They literally shouted it out on commentary. He had half a bad lap in the wet, and everyone was like, "Oh, I see his head's gone." Like, it must be quite a horrible thing to have for a rider that there's an issue, but then everyone's talking about the issue as well.
Yeah.
So I just hope that he's got a good team around him that can focus on it. But
yeah,
because there's no, again, it's one of them ones where there's no question about his speed. And on his day, we're talking about a guy who won a race this year and was on started P2 in the race today. So yeah, hope so.
Perfect. Right. Well, I think that's a good place to end it there. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. It's been a bit of a long one today, but I hope you've enjoyed it. Nearly cracking 2.5 hours, but we've got a lot to talk about. So
that's my fault. Sorry, guys.
It's all right. It's all right. It means people can listen more, and if they care, if you are listening this far, I respect you because fair play. So I mean, I listen to podcasts about this. Yeah, what you do in your life?
Get a job.
Sort your lives out. But no, if you are listening to it this far, I do really appreciate it. I'm sure we all do. And obviously, it's been nice to have Gary on the podcast this weekend. Or this time round, should I say?
Us, guys.
Yeah, thank you for your wisdom.
Thanks for having us, guys.
And
appreciate it.
If you are obviously looking to follow the progress of him and his riders, because he basically manages some riders, check out his Instagram, which is at pro53ltd, and you can follow him on there and keep up with his stuff. So with that bombshell, as I like to say, even though I'm ripping off Jeremy, whatever his name is, Jeremy Clarkson. I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we'll see you next time.
Guys, have a good one.
Ciao, ciao.